Welcome to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. This is called the night cap. Okay, the night cap. All right. With that being said, it is 10:45 p.m. and of course today's date is the 29th of April 2025. We are back for another episode. Hmm. We are back for another episode. All right. As we all know, today marks Trump's first 100 days. Trump celebrated Trump celebrated his first 100 days in office. So, how are you guys hoping and how are you guys faring during this first 100 days? Are you guys doing good? Do you guys think he's doing what he's supposed to be doing for his first 100 days? I would say yes. He's been negotiating deals. He's been trying to bring back manufacturing to the United States. It's not going to be easy, of course, but um, he's been trying his best. You know, he's made President Xi of China realize that China could not keep on the bad deals, the bad trade deals they have with the United States, and also like stealing IPs and all that stuff from American small businesses. So he's been doing all he can for this past 100 days. However, the tariffs has been hurting small businesses. Small businesses has been hurt for sure because now they have to sort of kind of pay higher and also pass some of those costs to their consumers when they sell. So that has been a big issue for sure. And most people are like, you know what, this is bad for business. However, people who voted for Trump, people who are the MAGA base, they're like, you know what, we do not mind going through this season because we know this is supposed to happen. Okay. Because nobody had the balls to actually renegotiate the trade deals. Only Trump had the effort or the balls to actually say, you know what, I'm going to I am going to fight for the trade deals that America makes. So everybody's criticizing the tariffs. But Frank Luntz actually spoke with some Republican voters and they said, you know what? The market, which is the stock market, which a lot of people have been saying, well, the stock market is not doing good. Okay. So these people are like, you know what? It doesn't really matter because every now and then the stock market retrace itself. It's correct itself. So they're patient and they're saying, you know what? We're going to wait. We are going to wait and see what happens. But let me know what you guys think though. Do you think he's been doing great for this past 100 days or you think he could do better? I think Russia and Ukraine would be the biggest win if he could make that happen. That is going to be his biggest win. Hopefully, he can make it happen. But Trump approval ratings, they're saying it's sinking. We know it's capped because, of course, with CNN saying it's tanking. But let's see. They say it sinks to 41%, which is the lowest any president at 100-day mark in at least 70 years, according to CNN.
We're joined now by Louisiana's Republican Senator John Kennedy. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. 100 days into President Trump's term, just 41% approve of the job he's doing in our new CNN poll, and just 37% approve of Republicans leading Congress. Are those serious warning signs for your party?
I think, Wolf, that the American people have been unhappy at least for 10 years. That's why President Trump was elected the first time. They weren't happy rather under President Biden, in part because of inflation, and their unhappiness continues. We'll see what happens over the next year. In terms of the president's first 100 days, it's hard to find the honey and the rock and the water and the stone in 100 days. But having said that, I think President Trump's done some things right in his first 100 days. He's secured the border. He's been very aggressive in abolishing racial quotas. He's deregulating the economy, getting rid of rules and regulations. He's changed the national conversation about the federal budget. He and Mr. Musk. Under President Biden, the conversation or the question was, who needs to pay more in taxes? Now, thanks to Trump and Musk, I think the question in Washington and elsewhere is what the hell happened to the money? The final point I would make, you may find a little strange, but it has to do with Europe. President Trump, as we all know, exists loudly. And his loud existence has awakened Europe with respect to its economy and its national defense, national security. We're seeing dramatic changes there, and I think it's possible that a decade from now, the Europeans, they may not say it, but they'll look back and actually thank Trump for awakening them from their economic and national security slumber.
We'll see how that unfolds. Senator, the American public isn't very happy with what's described as unified Republican control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. Right now, 58% say it's bad for the country. How is your party, the Republican Party, going to change that?
I think, well, first, I think the American people have been unhappy with Congress for a long time. As long as I can remember, Congress is polled right up there with robocalls with the American people. Here's what I think will be meaningful in the next 3 months. We have a plan to lower prices. Number one, it's called the reconciliation bill, which is just a budget bill. In that bill, we're going to reduce spending, which will help to lower prices. Number two, we're going to continue to deregulate the economy. Rules and regulations cost about $2 trillion a year, which increases the price of goods and services. And number three, we're going to try to redesign the tax code so that it'll look like somebody designed it on purpose and increase wages at the same time so that people can tolerate these high prices. If we do that, I think the American people will recognize our progress.
You talk about people tolerating these high prices. As you know, critics of President Trump's tariff strategy have said that this is a tax on Americans. Just 35% approve of President Trump's strategy. Do you buy the White House line that the chaos around the president's trade war is simply, quote, strategic uncertainty, or do you think that's just an excuse?
I don't know, Pamela, I don't know. Here's what I think about tariffs. Tariffs represent an intervention by a government. It's a government intervening in the free exchange of goods and services. Now, it's not a newsflash that many foreign countries, including but not limited to China, have used tariffs and trade barriers for years to disadvantage the American worker and the American economy. President Trump decided to try to do something about it. He basically got up and said, I want everybody to say hello to my little friends. And he jacked up tariffs, American tariffs, and half the valley shook. But then a strange thing happened. I thought that other countries would bow up and we'd enter into a trade war. Instead, many other countries have said, no mas. They've said, okay, we want to lower our trade barriers, but you've got to lower yours, America. And I think that's a good thing. I think our goal here ought to be to lower trade barriers and tariffs on both sides. Now, it's been very disruptive, and I don't know how it's going to turn out, but that's the way I analyze what's going on. The president has given several different interpretations of his intentions with respect to tariffs. I don't know how much of that is negotiating, but that's the way I see it anyway, Pamela.
Okay, just very quickly, I want to ask you about the war in Ukraine. And Wolf, I know you might have a question, but do you think Trump is allowing himself to get played by a master manipulator? I know you told Fox News over the weekend that Putin has reneged on every promise he's made to President Trump.
Well, Putin has. I think what I said this weekend was that Putin thinks America has taken the bullet train to Chumptown. I think he's disrespected our president. What I hope the president does is apply the same pressure to Putin that he has applied to Ukraine in getting a peace deal. Putin's got to understand that in order to get him to make concessions, that we're willing to slap him to Pluto. I don't mean that in terms of a war. I mean that in terms of economically. Right now, Europe and America are allowing Putin to sell his oil so long as he doesn't get more than $60 a barrel. A third of his revenues come from oil sales. We need to ratchet down those sanctions and starve him out on his oil if we're going to get an honorable peace in Ukraine, in my opinion. And I hope the president gets a lot tougher.
All right, Senator Kennedy, thank you so much.
Of course, Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, he is a very outspoken person. And for sure, he's been in support of Trump 1000%. But, it's tricky times now. So everybody's like, what's going on? Okay. Well, let's listen to what Amazon
and there's new reporting on a phone call.
Trump's conversation this morning. Trump had a conversation with Jeff Bezos. Well, there was an allegation that Amazon was going to start reflecting the tariff on their prices. So Trump was like, wait, don't do that. But listen to this.
Between the president and the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Sources telling CNN that the president at one point wasn't happy earlier today about a report he saw regarding the online retail giant. Amazon then clarifying their plans. Let's get the latest from Elena Treen, who's at the White House for us. And Elena, you got the scoop about this Trump-Bezos call. It all has to do with a certain section of that website potentially showing shoppers how much Trump tariffs might cost them, right?
That's exactly right. So essentially, I'll just give you the breakdown of how this played out as, it is according to the senior White House officials I spoke with on this. Essentially, there was a story published this morning by Punchbowl News that said Amazon was considering to show the cost of tariffs on Amazon's website next to its prices to show the breakdown of how much more the tariffs were making these products cost. That was something that then one senior White House official who I spoke with called President Trump about directly to inform him of it. Now, this is what one of those officials told me the response was. They said, quote, "Of course he was pissed. Why should a multi-billion-dollar company pass off costs to consumers?" Then we learned, and this is according to two senior White House officials I spoke with, that the president was so angered by this, he called up the founder of Amazon himself, Jeff Bezos, to complain about the potential plans that were being reported on. We also heard White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt say publicly that they believed that the move was a hostile political act. All to say, after all of that, the White House making very clear their position, both publicly and privately, Amazon then seemed to backtrack. They had one statement come out from an Amazon spokesperson that essentially said, quote, it was never a consideration for the Man Amazon site, and nothing had been implemented on Amazon properties. They said it was only going to be for certain products on its website. But then when I reached out to Amazon, they sent me a different statement saying it was their latest version of it. And essentially it added and made clear that it was never approved and not going to happen. So I think it's just a pretty remarkable story, really, of how this all played out. And really, I think the bottom line here is it shows that this White House did not want the tariff prices and the cost of these tariffs being shown. They were also, really taking issue with the fact that some of the costs of the tariffs could be passed on from Amazon to consumers.
And Elena, on the auto tariffs and the president's event tonight, what should we expect?
Yeah, look, this is something that we heard confirmed this morning from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Essentially, the president is going to be signing a new executive order today. We're told he'll sign it on board Air Force One as he travels to Michigan for his rally to mark his first 100 days in office. And essentially, the order is going to ease some of the tariffs on automakers. Now, I was told in my conversations with White House officials that this came after the president had spoken on multiple occasions with different CEOs of the major automaker companies. And this is something as well we heard Scott Bessent said that they want to try and help these automakers. They want to encourage them and motivate them to bring manufacturing to the United States. And in order to do that, they might have to soften the impact of some of the tariffs that we're seeing the president roll out. Now, this executive order, some Commerce Department officials walked through some of the details with reporters. It's very wonky, but I want to give you kind of the 50,000-foot view, Boris. Essentially, the 25% tariff on imported cars still remains, and that's going to continue remain. There's also going to be a new tariff going into effect this week, and another 25% tariff on parts, auto parts coming into the United States. However, this new order will give the ability for some of these automakers to get reimbursed for some of the 25% tariffs. But then also, they really are looking at trying to prevent domestic-made cars in the United States from being tariffed in the same rate that auto cars would be tariffed, as well as the foreign parts of different tariffs, even in domestically produced cars. All of that to say, it's very complex, but it's clear what they're trying to do here. They're trying to ease the impact that some of these automakers are feeling, and really their bottom line goal is to encourage manufacturing in the United States. That's the bottom line with what they're trying to do here, and you are seeing the stock market respond kind of favorably to the news of this, Boris.
Elena Trine live for us at a noisy White House. Sounds like a plane overhead. Elena, thank you so much.
This Amazon White House spat over what Amazon is now saying was just this kind of idea that was being discussed to list tariff upcharges on some Amazon haul products. What do you think just about the idea of this, about letting consumers know what a tariff policy is costing?
You can say what you want to say, okay? But for the past 4 years, we had a president who was falling off stairs, falling off stages, sleeping on the world stage. This man was literally sleeping on the world stage. Going into the Amazon rainforest to see the jaguars and some snakes. And now y'all want to talk about this is a pro-Trump channel. Yeah, this is a pro-Trump channel.
Costing them.
Well, it's a tough calculation for a giant retailer like Amazon, but if it's doable, it's a fantastic idea. The fact is that tariffs are taxes, and they are typically paid by American companies and consumers. Any bit of sunlight that we can shed on that tax would be a good thing, because typically tariffs are hidden. They're hidden in the supply chains. They're paid at the border. That's one reason why politicians like tariffs. They're a very seductive tool because consumers don't typically see them. So if we could shed some light on it, that'd be pretty great, but it's not an easy calc.
There was a pretty important development that just happened. It continues to develop, but we saw a big shift right before we came on air. And this has to do with Amazon and President Trump and Jeff Bezos. What happened?
Yeah, speaking of needing 7 hours to explain something. So Punchbowl News, our great friends and colleagues over at Punchbowl News broke the story this morning that one of the offshoot websites of Amazon was going to post the price differential based on tariffs on the website so consumers would see it. You've actually seen companies do this in the past with inflation prices, those things like that. Trump, according to our colleague Elena Trine, great reporting, picked up the phone and called Bezos, who he's gotten increasingly close with over the course of the last several months, was very upset about what happened. Now Amazon is saying that is not under consideration. It will not be implemented. They backed off. And I think there's a bigger picture here that's important to note. Trump has a level of authority and influence over the business community that he never had before now. The problem in this specific case is Amazon is one of hundreds of thousands of companies that are trying to grapple with, okay, do we eat these prices? Do we pass them on to consumers? How do we kind of deal with this going forward? And it would become a game of whack-a-mole to be able to knock out every single company and jawbone them away from doing that. It's just kind of getting to the uncertainty idea right now. The underlying economy is good. The numbers are still good. Inflation is good. Wages are good. Jobs are good. What everybody's looking forward to is what Amazon was trying to figure out when they were considering this proposal for one of their offshoot websites, which is things are about to potentially get really bad. And just the perception of that in a consumer-driven economy can lead to those things actually happening, whether they're going to or not.
And what I think there's a difference between a mom and pop shop in Minnesota putting on their website the differential price and a multi-billionaire company that probably can afford to take the hit on tariffs to some extent without passing it on to the consumer. And it was that the politics of that gave the White House and Trump in that phone call to Bezos, I'm sure, a bit of a card to play.
Even if Amazon has backed off, there are a lot of those small businesses across the country that are making it very clear that they're saying to their the people that buy their products, look, this stroller that you're about to buy, the cost of it is going to change from this much to this much if this goes into effect. I mean, you see it all the time, them posting on social media, making very transparent and clear the impact on their small business. So even if the massive retailers don't say it, the voters are seeing it, which is why they're so scared about the tariff. I do want to ask you about what was a big story today, the White House calling what was initially reported as Amazon tariff upcharges on some products. They call that hostile. Amazon has since said it was an idea discussed and never approved for Amazon Haul, which is its Shein and Temu competitor. But what do you think about that bigger issue of letting consumers know what a president's policy is costing them?
Listen, Brianna, free trade for the last 35 years has really meant unfair trade. The president has come in, and look, none of us are necessarily happy about some of the market conditions and all. As we've seen, though, the markets have largely come back. They're still down about 4 or 5%, but they've come back. We needed this correction. We needed it desperately for the short term and the long term. You saw some of the numbers. Those weren't fictitious. 60, 70% tariffs in India versus 4% here in the United States.
So what about this idea of an upcharge, like breaking down the transparency in pricing?
Right. Well, listen, Amazon didn't put 20% inflation cost increase due to the Biden administration policies.
But a lot of restaurants
in this case, well, maybe so. But in this case, I just wonder if Amazon is also going to put, when they start selling a lot more in India, hey, thanks, President Trump, we're now selling much more in India. And by the way, there's been no inflationary issues surrounding products at this point. So anything they would do would be premature and would be speculative. We haven't seen inflation kick up. As a matter of fact, the report just came in. Inflation's at its lowest it's been since 2021. At 2.4%.
Well, I think this is about the actual cost of the product on the tariff. I understand what you're saying because there are concerns that the tariffs may be inflationary overall. And inflation, certainly a very real thing under the Biden administration, which is why we saw a minority, but a significant number of restaurants, for instance, putting inflation charges on their bills.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. All right, more on the OG, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States.
Strong borders. We like good education. We like low interest rates. We like being able to buy a beautiful car. Interest rates came down despite the fact that I have a Fed person who's not really doing a good job. But I won't say that. They said he pledged to bring prices down. Well, that's what I've done. Since I took office, the cost of eggs is down 87%.
Yeah.
That claim there at the end, the president has repeated it a couple times this week, again, including again tonight during an interview that he did with ABC News at the White House earlier today.
When I took over, you remember the big thing with eggs. They hit me the first week, eggs, like it was my fault. I said, I didn't cause this problem. This problem was caused by Biden. What's the problem with eggs? And they said, they've doubled. And well, eggs are down 87%.
As we reported last week, the national wholesale price for a dozen of large white eggs has gone down. Last Friday, it was about $3.13, according to the Department of Agriculture, which is down from the $6.55 the week that President Trump took office. That's a decline of about 52%, not 87% or even 93 or 94, as we've heard from him. On day 100 of the president's second term and into his second presidency, he is declaring a success and also touting the tariffs that he's put in place, even as they've roiled the financial markets and created deep concern for many voters. My lead source tonight is the Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, and it's great to have you here. Obviously, you're a huge ally of the president's. And now that he's 100 days in, and the economy seems to be a major focus for a lot of voters as they're looking at this. In that interview tonight, he talked about the 145% tariffs in place on China. He said he thinks China will actually end up eating most of that. Is that how you see it, though?
Well, I do. I think China has to have us. If you start looking at the economy is strong. Caitlin, I know the voters are looking at it. You got to remember, underneath President Biden's 4 years in office, he averaged inflation at 4.95%, nearly 5%, at a high of 9.1%. Today, inflation is down to 2.4%. You start talking about optimism inside the economy. We have 229,000 jobs created. 459,000 jobs went from part-time to full-time. We have private investment of $2 trillion that have been pledged to invest in the United States in the first 100 days of the presidency. We have foreign investments of $3 trillion. That's $5 trillion invested in our economy just in the first 100 days. People like to see what is going on right now. You have gas prices down 22%. And when you start talking to American people, they are excited about where our country is headed.
But if the numbers are as good as the president says they are, I mean, he's wildly exaggerating how much eggs are down. They're not down 87%. If they were, people would be paying 50 cents for a dozen of eggs, which obviously you know that they're not.
The fact is they're down. And as I said, at the height.
Right, but why not just say exactly how much they're down?
Well, at the height, it was 9.1%. So it depends on what metric you're using. At 9.1%, they're down to 2.4% now. Inflation, that is a significant drop. That's not 50%. Yep. You're getting down to actual real numbers at that point. So it depends on which point you're talking about. We can discuss wherever we want to on the eggs of what source you want to say or at what time frame he may be referring to. The fact is, prices are down, and we see them continuously dropping.
But they're not down as much as he's saying that they're down for eggs. So I'm saying if my
argument, let's use the math. What's 9.1% down to 2.4%? What's the percentage?
I'm saying if the numbers are as good as you think they are, and as you're arguing, and that's number from the Agriculture Department, why not just say they're down 52% or 53% instead of 87%?
It's interesting to me that we're focused on the price of eggs when we know it's down. What I don't remember hearing is when Biden was in office and inflation was not 9.1%, about you talking about how high the prices were, or anybody, for that matter, actually saying, okay, why is inflation at 9.1%? Why are we averaging 4.95, nearly 5% of inflation? Why is it in the first 100 days? That should be the conversation. Why is it in the first 100 days that the president was able to bring down inflation to 2.4% and have $5 trillion of investment inside the United States? Why wasn't that happening in the last 4 years of the Biden administration?
I think if you asked anyone in the Biden White House, they got asked about inflation all day long. It was essentially one of the only questions reporters asked them. So I don't think that that's a fair criticism. But on the numbers, when you're looking at that, you know, this isn't some criticism from the media. It's the polling that voters are not happy with where the economy's going. They don't feel good about the president's policies, and they think they're making the economy worse. Why do you think that is?
Well, I would go, what demographic are they polling? Who are they talking to? Because when I'm talking to people in Oklahoma, or I'm talking to people in Texas, or I'm talking to people in Alabama, or wherever I'm traveling to, which granted I'm traveling to red states, they're very optimistic about where we're headed to. They're excited about what's happening inside the country. And I think investors are that way too. As I go back to it, in the first 100 days, we've had $5 trillion pledged to invest inside the United States. Why weren't they doing that underneath the Biden administration?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the CNN polling. It was, I think, the sample that they surveyed was more Republicans than it was Democrats, and then a lot of independents in there as well. I mean, it was a pretty broad swath. And it's also not just the CNN poll. It's the ABC Washington Post poll. There's a Fox News poll that's out where his numbers are down. And so I guess the question is, when you look at that, is there any sense when you look at those numbers that the White House needs to change course?
Caitlin, numbers don't lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Polling you can skew however you want to. When I restate these numbers again, inflation is down to 2.4%. We're an average of 4.95%, 5% underneath the Biden administration.
Yeah, inflation is down.
9.1%. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but when you have
Exactly.
$5 trillion pledged of investment in the first 100 days, I believe the investors, I believe the job creators, those that create the jobs, that hire the individuals, I think it speaks for themselves. When you have 459,000 jobs that were part-time just 100 days ago, today they're full-time, I believe the economy is moving in the right direction. And so we should be talking about what has happened in the first 100 days. Why is it that the President Trump was able to do this and Biden couldn't?
The S&P 500 posted its biggest loss in the first 100 days of a presidency since Nixon in 1973. I mean, those are hard numbers.
Well, think about this. Well, but think about the stock market. The stock market deals on today's news, not on the future. What the president is trying to do with the tariffs is he's trying to build a workforce for the future. We know without question that countries were taking advantage of the United States' generosity for years. That countries all across Europe, all across Asia have became wealthy on taking products that were once built inside the United States, build it in their country, and then selling it back to us and taking the dollars out. When the president said enough's enough, we're tired of countries taking advantage of us, we're going to right this ship and we're going to build a workforce for the future. The stock market didn't react the way that, actually reacted the way we expected it to, really, because they deal on today's futures, not tomorrow's futures. And that's understandable. But the market that the president is building is going to be better for the future generation.
Yeah, and the president is making that argument tonight that he ran on tariffs. This is what he's now putting in place. Maybe Wall Street didn't believe him. But on this today, amid this report that Amazon was going to start showing how prices were impacted by his tariffs, you would see what you would pay without the tariffs and you'd see what you pay with them. Amazon quickly denied that they're actually going to do that. But the White House lashed out and called it a hostile and political act. Why would a company being transparent about why prices are going up be hostile?
I actually had a meeting with the CEO of distribution and small stores and retails for Amazon before we came on air tonight. And he said that was based on a story that was based on a very small aspect of Amazon. But Amazon was never doing that. And so we got into pricing, started talking about pricing, right? You started talking about how that would work. He says, we haven't increased pricing. We haven't increased pricing. We don't expect to increase pricing. We haven't seen the tariffs increase. Most retailers, major retailers, had surged up before the tariffs came in because we knew what the president had said. And so we saw a larger surge in surplus in warehouse goods than we did even over Christmas. And so the consumer is not seeing this tariff that everybody is talking about.
Don't you think?
Well, according to him, it'll be weeks, possibly months before you see it happen.
But that's not that long from now, just a few weeks from now. I mean,
well, think about how fast the president has moved in 100 days. And when you say just a few weeks, I didn't say a few weeks. I said weeks, possibly months. When you start talking about what the president has accomplished in the first 100 days, can you imagine what he can do in the next 100 days? We're talking about 90 days if you want to start about months. We're talking about 90 days from now, 3 months from now. What else can happen? I have enjoyed where the direction the president is
on the premise of, I mean, okay, so in 6 weeks we could see prices go up.
I don't think it'll be 6 weeks. It'll be past that.
So when should voters, do you think, be prepared for?
I don't think you got to be prepared for it. I think you're going to see a deal made. Countries need to do business with our economy. They want to do business with our economy. Think about what's the products made in China. Who needs economies worse? China, 40% of all their manufacturing goods that they make today are sold inside the United States.
But you yourself acknowledged the last time you were here, a tariff is a tax that is passed on to consumers. You've said that pretty bluntly. The question, I think, that was raised today is, why is it the responsibility of a CEO or someone who owns a company to shield the White House from the cost of their policies by not raising prices?
What do you mean shield? That's what a business owner does. We prepare for the markets ahead.
But all
That's
businesses
what
are not
we
going to
do.
eat these prices. You don't think that, right?
I never said they were going to eat the prices. I think some of them will be able to absorb some of them, but the retailer can't. The manufacturer can. So the margins at a retail store is much, much smaller than the margins at a manufacturing plant. So a lot of them can be absorbed from the manufacturer, and I believe they will absorb some of them. But you don't expect a retailer, when they're working off 2, 3, or at the top 6% margins, to be able to absorb that. It should be consumed at the manufacturing level, though, which is why we're trying to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. And
Which is
that's what President Trump is doing.
A years-long endeavor and something that is not done in a few weeks or
But
months.
trade deals can be done, and the president is absolutely the
Facts.
best president we've ever had to right this ship on unfair trade practices that the countries have taken advantage of. And the president, no one can work a deal better than President Trump.
We're staying on top of it closely. None have been announced so far. Senator Mullen, thank you for coming on tonight.
Everybody's saying that nobody had the balls to renegotiate United States trade deals. Only Trump could. But now, of course, the leftists are talking. Here we go.
Continue to monitor President Trump's first 100 days rally in Warren, Michigan. Our panel's back. Dana, look at what Speaker Mike Johnson tweeted earlier today. It says, "America's back." Very celebratory image, all caps, celebrating the first 100 days. It is quite a difference, that image, and what we've seen for the administration and Republican leadership, to how voters are responding to Trump's first 100 days, at least according to all the polls I've seen.
No question. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, spent some time with the president talking about the tax bill. So you have to kind of remember what the kind of dynamic is there, is that the Speaker is somebody who has to constantly make sure that the president understands that Johnson is on his side. And it's a difficult thing. It's a very difficult relationship for him to manage. And it's very clear that he understands he has to continually prove that. That's, to me, reading that from the outside in, what that was about.
And Scott, I mean, I understand it's celebratory where you are, celebratory among Republican voters, the Republican base. But the polls indicating discomfort have to have some people in the Trump White House concerned, no?
Well, I think they're watching them and paying attention to it, but they also know there's more work to do. I mean, they're going to roll out some more announcements on trade deals. They've got more private investment announcements, as I understand it. They think that will help. But really, what I am picking up from these guys here is that over the next several weeks, the pressure on Congress to pass the reconciliation bill, the big, beautiful bill, as he's been talking about, that's where the real focus is, because they think if they can lay down a marker on taxes and energy and all the other changes they want to make, they're going to be able to paint their opponents, the Democrats, as obstructionists and people who want to raise your taxes and so on and so forth. So that's the battle to come, and they think if they win that battle, they're going to see a boost out of it.
Yeah, and David Chalian, I mean, the one thing that every Republican that I have at this table to talk about the president's polling ever since it started taking a dive after Liberation Day, April 2nd, is, well, I'd still rather be President Trump than any of the congressional Democrats because his polling numbers are much better than theirs are.
I mean, we see it in our poll today as well, where you see that Democratic voters are extraordinarily displeased with their own party's leadership. That is not true on the Republican side. Republican voters are overwhelmingly pleased with their Republican leadership. And part of that, which is why, to what Scott was saying, like, part of why I think the White House, not only do they want this bill passed, but that's going to be the main message focus for the weeks ahead, is because it's going to put pressure on the Democrats for how they are going to try and convince some people on the Republican side or rally voters to convince Republicans to vote against it. Because this pressure cooker, there's a reckoning coming inside the Democratic Party. It's not just a binary choice, Jake, we're seeing these polls. It is true that Donald Trump is bleeding support with independents, that his numbers are at a historic low at the 100-day mark. But the Democrats are not benefiting from that right now. And the pressure is going to be on them because their party members want to see their elected leaders actually do something to stop Trump's advancement. And this tax bill is going to be a very key example of a moment where they are going to try to do that.
Alyssa, why do you think that Democrats have not been able to benefit at all from the independent support and other support that Trump is losing? Why have they not been able to step up and gain any of it? Do you think it's the pall of the Biden administration,
bad
the
policies,
gaslighting about the President Biden's acuity? What do you think it is?
All of the above. I think Democrats lost a lot of faith with the American public in just defending Joe Biden at every cost. They're also effectively leaderless right now, and I think they're struggling to find a message. You'll see in polling that people think the leader is anyone from AOC to Kamala Harris to Bernie Sanders. Well, that's not exactly a clear leader of the party, and it's certainly neither of the two congressional leaders. And then you've got folks on the campaign trail talking about fighting the oligarchy. With due respect, no one sits around the table when they're thinking about how they're going to pay that next bill and talks about the oligarchy. For all of Donald Trump's flaws, he's remarkably good at honing a very simple, direct message that resonates people. Build the wall, bring down costs for Americans. That's what Democrats need to get back to. They need to get to what is their agenda that is not just anti-Trump, but what are they going to do to make the lives of Americans better day to day? And I haven't seen someone emerge capable of doing that quite yet.
Here is President Trump talking to Terry Moran of ABC News.
Ask one question about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
I had a talk with him, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young, he's smart, highly educated, and I think he's going to be a very good hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in Pete Hegseth?
I don't have 100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
it's a pretty important position.
No. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
We will.
Our panel's back. And Scott, you just saw Secretary of Defense Hegseth on the trip to Michigan on Air Force One with President Trump. Did you get any feeling about their interactions at all?
I did, actually. And what I saw was Donald Trump has a lot of confidence in Pete Hegseth. I saw a commander-in-chief who's standing behind his Secretary of Defense. And we went over before this rally to Selfridge Air Force Base here, where President Trump made an announcement about saving that base and putting new fighter jets there. And he had Pete Hegseth on the trip and brought him up to the podium and let him say a few words. My observation was it was a big vote of confidence in Pete Hegseth coming out of some of these issues we've been discussing. So my observations today is Pete Hegseth is in good stead with the commander-in-chief, Donald Trump.
David Chalian.
It looks so.
Be that as it may, Pete Hegseth has had the two biggest mess-ups of any member of the Trump administration so far. One, Signalgate, and two, the second Signalgate.
Yes, Signalgate 1 and 2. Listen, the reason Hegseth's job is safe today, and who knows if it will be going forward, is because of all the political capital spent to get him to the position that he's in. So Trump and his team are really loath to give that scalp up, if you will, in a way to political opponents, to the press coverage around this. They put so much to get him into that role that I think that in and of itself right now has protected him a little bit. But I don't think that that's guaranteed to protect him all the way through if there is some other screw up.
And just to put a finer point on what you just said, it's the political capital that the president spent, the people around him, but it's also that he asked his fellow Republicans in the United States Senate to spend in order to get him over the finish line, which it wasn't easy.
And Alyssa Farah-Griffin, Pete Hegseth, I don't think there are probably a number of individuals, including Senate Republican former leader Mitch McConnell, who voted against Hegseth, who are not surprised by this because they have already said that they didn't think he had the maturity and was too reckless a candidate to be Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, listen, I think Donald Trump has legitimate affection for Pete Hegseth. I remember being with him when I staffed an interview he did. He likes his wife. He likes him as a person. He thinks he's good on TV, looks the part. But listen, Donald Trump's not one to want to give a scalp to the media or to the outrage, especially in this kind of first 100 days. I would be stunned if there aren't some staffing and even senior changes that come in the coming months, though. And Hegseth has been marred by scandal. And Donald Trump gives people he likes some rope, but not too much, especially somewhere as important as the Department of Defense. And I think what also matters is in Trump world, there's always going to be people around him who are jockeying to replace if that position were to become vacant. So he's going to be hearing from senators, from elected officials about who should be in that role and who could do it better than Hegseth.
I don't think he's going to replace Hegseth, but anything is possible.
Donald Trump celebrating the first 100 days of his second term in Detroit, Michigan. He just left the stage moments ago.
We just had the biggest victory in Michigan. They said, sir, it's going to be hard. Well, we won it twice. We're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country, and that's according to many, many people. This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in.
Trump says he's having fun running the world, and you can just see it.
How are you? There we go. How's your day? If there was one big thing you wanted to have happen in the first 100 days, but didn't, what would it be? Well, I think we've done everything.
Oh my goodness. Was he using his hat to play golf? What is going on here, y'all? This man is having too much fun.
Having fun running the world, and you can just see it.
How are you? There we go. How's your day? If there was one big thing
How is your
you
game?
wanted to have happen in the first 100 days, but didn't, what would it be? Well, I think we've done everything or it's in the process of being done.
He said he wouldn't trade places with anyone in the world. Well, except maybe one.
As Pope? I'd like to be Pope. That would be my number one choice.
Before his big speech in Detroit, Trump stopped by a military base in Michigan to celebrate with the troops, and he didn't come empty-handed.
Today I've come in person to lay to rest any doubts about Selfridge's future and the vital role it'll play in our national defense. As Commander-in-Chief, I'm proud to announce that very soon we will replace the retiring A-10 Warthogs with 21 brand new F-15EX Eagle II fighter jets, the best in the world, fresh off the line.
Nothing says happy 100 days like new fighter jets. And there was one special guest in the room who was ready to party. And she was from the other party, Big Gretch.
I want to thank Governor Gretchen Whitmer for bringing it also to our attention very strongly. And, I'm not supposed to do that. She's a Democrat. They say, don't do that. Don't have her here. I said, no, she's going to be here. She's done a very good job, frankly. So I want to thank you very much, Gretchen. Good job.
Well, I hadn't planned to speak, but I'm on behalf of all the military men and women who serve our country and serve so honorably on behalf of the state of Michigan. I am really damn happy we're here to celebrate this recapitalization at Selfridge. Thank you. I'm so grateful that this announcement was made today, and I appreciate all the work. Thank you.
Good for Gretch.
Uh-oh. There we go, Gretch.
She didn't hide her face behind the folder like last time. Trump 2.0 is different. Bill Maher's breaking bread. Morning Joe did a pilgrimage. Saquon's golfing. And Big Gretch cured her TDS. Even the Washington Post gives.
This right here was the same lady that was present during Kamala Harris and Oprah Winfrey's interview. Remember? She was like, well, Kamala Harris is definitely going to win Michigan. Yeah. Yeah, I see.
This recapitalization at Selfridge. Thank you. I'm so grateful that this announcement was made today, and I appreciate all the work. Thank you.
Okay.
Good for Gretch. She didn't hide her face behind the folder like last time. Trump 2.0 is different. Bill Maher's breaking bread. Morning Joe did a pilgrimage. Saquon's golfing. And Big Gretch cured her TDS. Even the Washington Post gives him credit. Quote, since FDR's earth-shaking first 100 days in office, no president has matched the sheer drama and disruption of this 15-week sprint, at least until now. In 100 days, we've seen $160 billion doged, useless agencies shuttered, DEI terminated, inflation's down, but nothing's more down than border crossings, down 99.9%.
Oh my goodness. Jesse said nothing is more down than border crossing. That's right.
One thing that you think President Trump and his team have done?
Secured that border.
Our border.
The border. The border.
Immigration law, baby.
After complaining about the bad hombre mugshots on the White House lawn, MSNBC is being forced into the field to talk to people. And the people say Trump's killing it.
Oh.
I am totally excited. Everybody I know is excited. My biggest issue is at the border, and he's killing it. Well, absolutely, everybody that's here illegally should go. I'm not one of these that, oh, the poor person. No, they need to go.
There's so much action on illegal immigration, Democrats can't deny it. Here's Stephen A.
The fact that Trump rolled up in there and cleaned this stuff up, prioritizing border control, definitely is going to be perceived as a plus, whether Democrats and others like it or not.
Border Patrol has been outstanding. The economy, the nation's other top priority, still unfinished business. On the plus side, American industry is making a comeback.
We're taking back our country from a sick political class that got rich selling America out and bleeding America dry. After decades of politicians who destroyed Detroit to build up Beijing, you finally have a champion for workers in the White House. And instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first.
Manufacturing jobs are back, and $5 trillion private money is being invested in American steel, energy, tech, pharma, autos, and AI. But the market took a little bit of a hit on the trade war. The president said we had to take our medicine and wait for the tax and regulation cuts to get on track this summer. Hopefully that'll steady the ship. The president's confident that it will. The media are panicking.
It's officially been 100 days of Donald Trump.
Oh, God.
I'm so tired. It's aging this nation in Tom Hanks' Castaway years. Tonight we're kicking off the week-long coverage of Donald Trump's first 100. Let's call them days.
Overseas, the Panama Canal's been secured. The Houthi rebels are under fire, and Greenland's on the menu. The Ukraine war is still raging, and Trump's growing a little frustrated with Putin. So the next 100 days are all about deals.
I think what we've really done here is deals. We've worked on deals. There's a peace deal, there's a trade deal, there's a tax deal, and the first 100 days has set the table, and I think the next 100 days we're going to see the fruition of all those.
Insiders say Trump's in his disruption phase right now. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich says, I believe he has from now to about January 1st to be very disruptive. After that, Trump needs to be stabilizing, pulling together, and explaining.
I agree.
Voters say it's not that scary compared to the last 4 years.
No, it's not.
Are you prepared to pay higher prices for goods?
I've been paying higher prices, sweetie.
Exactly. When people say, are you ready to start paying higher prices for goods? The last 4 years, we saw gas go up like no other. Okay? You saw how much inflation went up. Interest rate, mortgage rate went bonkers. Okay? So nobody should say, well, are you ready for prices to start going up? Prices being up, yo.
I haven't gotten off this. My groceries have doubled. My gas has doubled. No, I'm already used to it.
No one said it would be easy. Trump's taking on issues that his predecessors never tackled and let fester. Trade, border, war. Trump's not running for re-election, we think. So this isn't about politics. It's about putting America in a strong position to thrive in the 21st century.
You said, quote, hang tough. Yeah. It won't be easy. You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should expect, some hard times?
I've said that during my campaign. Look, we won a campaign by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by a lot. I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen.
Hard times are ahead?
I don't think so. I think great times are ahead. Look, since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down.
The American people voted for complete upheaval in Washington. And if anything, Trump delivered that. Sometimes you have to demolish a building before rebuilding it into a skyscraper. How fast and how effective Trump can rebuild what he's demolished will determine his legacy. But Democrats, if they take back power in 2 years, they won't let him. They just filed articles of impeachment.
Some guy that I'd never heard of. John James, is he a congressman, this guy? He said, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start the impeachment of Donald Trump. What the hell did I do? Here we go again. They want to impeach me. This lunatic. Actually, I had the television way down, and I said to our great First Lady, listen, did I just hear I was being impeached again? We're getting good at this, though. And then you have the other one that's always with the cane. He's always impeaching. He raises his cane.
So far, Trump's support from Republicans, rock solid. His voters are along for the ride, and they're loving it.
I think the first 100 days has been a breath of fresh air. I think that everybody's been waiting for change, no matter what party you are. Right. I feel that the change is undeniable. And so this is the first 100 days. I can't wait to see what the first 1,000 days.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube.
Oh, my goodness. Did you guys hear about the Spain and Portugal blackout because they had renewable energy? Hoo-wee. This is just out of this world, man. This is out of this world. Thank you for tuning into the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Genesis. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, and join the memberships. It is $4.99. With that being said, the OG, the 45th and the 47th had a rally today in Michigan. Let's hear what he has to say. And we will move on to the next after that. Here we go. All right. All right, I'm going to get that. But before that, let's do this.
Days of history is in the books. 100 days of political shock and awe. President Trump fulfilling his campaign promises, implementing the Make America Great Again agenda at a record pace, all while battling the Washington, D.C. establishment, the institutionalists, better known as the swamp, the legacy media mob at the same time, pathetic Democrats, that party, every step of the way. And tonight, the president was in Michigan for a massive rally commemorating the start of what he's calling a new golden age for America and for all Americans. Take a look.
We're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country. And week by week, we're ending illegal immigration. We're taking back our jobs and protecting our great American auto workers and all of our workers, frankly. We're ending the inflation nightmare, the worst that we've had probably in the history of our country, getting woke lunacy and transgender insanity the hell out of our government. We're stopping the indoctrination of our children, slashing billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. And above all, we're saving the American dream. We're making America great again, and it's happening fast, too. What the world has witnessed in the past 14 weeks is a revolution of common sense. That's all it is, really. We're conservative. You're conservative, you're liberal, whatever the hell. You know what it's all about? It's about common sense when you think about it. We're for common sense. We've set all-time records for the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. Think of that, ever recorded. I'm proud to be the president for the workers and not the outsourcers, the president who stands up for Main Street, not Wall Street. Our golden age has only just begun. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down. We will never, ever surrender. We will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win.
All right, let's be clear. We can spend all night doing something the state-run legacy media mob would never do, and that's list the actual accomplishments from Donald Trump's first 100 days. The president said it best. If Democrats had their way, America, as we know it, would be over. We'd be a third world hellhole. Open borders. That means more terrorists, more gang members, murderers, rapists, cartel members, and probably all likely on a path to citizenship. America would decline into default and bankruptcy. And since the Trump-hating legacy media mob will never bring you facts, we're going to highlight the sheer difference between Democrats and Donald Trump's historic 100-day record of success. Take a look at your screen. In just this short period of time, the president slashed a record number of regulations. He's making his middle-class tax cuts permanent. He declared a national energy emergency. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. By the way, that includes offshore drilling on the energy issue, drilling in the Gulf of America, where just this week the administration celebrated the first production from a major new venture just off the coast of Louisiana and Mississippi. President Trump has also pulled the United States from the job-killing, cost-ineffective, idiotic Paris Accords. He ended Biden's liquefied natural gas export ban. Now the cost of energy is down significantly. The cost of gas is down. Mortgage rates are going down. And to top it all off, Doge, that's right, those horrible people, they have already saved you, the American taxpayer, over $160 billion in waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption, and they are still counting. Meanwhile, 26 American hostages have been brought home. The Houthi rebels are getting pounded. Iran is getting squeezed financially, and they better make a deal or they will regret it. Peace between Russia and Ukraine is finally, at least it's within reach, and for once a real possibility. Not a single U.S. service member has been killed overseas. And by the way, Donald Trump is finally holding China accountable while negotiating better trade deals with every country in the world, while getting the U.S. out of the corrupt World Health Organization and slashing USAID. We could go on, and we still haven't even mentioned the border. Probably his greatest success in 100 days. Think about it. In less than 100 days, Donald Trump made good on his biggest campaign promise. Joe Biden, well, said it couldn't be done. He needed legislation. He was wrong, as usual. Under Trump, the border is not just secure, it is the most secure border in American history. Take a look at these numbers from the DHS. Daily border encounters are down a whopping 93%. Encounters with gotaways down 95%. The migrant crossings are down 99%. We went from 160,000 ICE encounters per month under Biden to around 7,000 under Trump, with almost zero released into the country. And meanwhile, the deportation numbers continue to grow. And according to ICE, they have deported over 65,000 illegal aliens in Trump's first 100 days. They've arrested another 66,000 illegals, most of which have criminal charges or convictions, including nearly 500 for murder, 1,300 for sex offenses, and 2,300 100 gang members. These dangerous offenders were roaming around your country thanks to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Alejandro Mayorkas, and now they're getting deported. Thanks to President Trump. As the president said, it's about promises made and promises kept. Now, keep in mind, President Trump is doing all of this amid nonstop, unrelenting, negative coverage from a corrupt, broken, state-run legacy media mob. Take a look at this study, Media Research Center. Despite everything that Donald Trump has done, their coverage is still a whopping 92% negative, only 7.8% positive in his first 100 days. We'll have a lot more on this petty behavior from the left. Hey,
just think about it. The fact that this guy is getting all of this done, even with the attacks, even with the bad press, it is just absolutely insane. All right, here we go. Kevin has something to say.
Now, to discuss more is the Director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett. Kevin, I'm so grateful to have you on the show. So thank you very much for being here. I do want to start with some of this news from the president, where, and we also heard Howard Lutnick, the cabinet official, say that there was an unnamed deal that was close. The president is talking about India. Can you just tell us in a clear way, what deal are we close to, and where do things stand with India? Is that the deal in question?
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple deals that are extraordinarily close, especially with our Asian trading partners. Secretary Lutnick and Bessent and I were in the Oval yesterday discussing it with the president, and we've seen sketches of deals. I'm not going to put, deals that aren't signed in front of the American people until the president's ready to do that, and the foreign governments are ready to do it. But the thing that I can say that I've been astonished at is how much access to foreign markets U.S. producers are going to have because of these deals. The president was really impressed with the status of the negotiations, but especially impressed by the fact that finally they're putting the American worker first, and they're opening up their markets for our products in a way that nobody ever thought was possible.
One big focus, of course, Kevin, is this question about auto tariffs as well, and there has been an order in the works. Of course, the president going to Michigan today. Has the president signed the order on auto tariffs?
Yes, and in fact, I got an update on this, and so perhaps I'm breaking a little bit of news, but I wanted to know for sure that the executive orders were signed while he was traveling to Michigan. Of course, signing them on the way to Michigan is in part what he's up to, because it's all about getting workers back to work in the places where we make things in America. And so, yes, the two executive orders on autos were signed. I was informed. I don't think I was informed incorrectly by someone on Air Force One.
So this obviously, all of the activity on tariffs has particularly focused as well on China, because the volume of goods that come from China is so high. There have been serious questions about the way that talks are continuing between the U.S. and China, because, of course, the Chinese have denied speaking to U.S. officials. And let's kind of go through this a little bit layer by layer. Has the president spoken with President Xi of China about this?
The president is clear that he's talked with President Xi, but what those conversations might entail, obviously that's up to the president and President Xi to reveal. But I can say that the president has asked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to lead the trade negotiations with China. As the top economic official, as the Treasury Secretary is, the heir to Alexander Hamilton, he's exactly the right person for this job, and we're looking forward to making progress and reporting on progress soon.
Has the Treasury Secretary spoken with his counterpart, his Chinese counterpart, recently?
The Treasury Secretary will inform you about those matters in the fullness of time.
Okay. Can you give us shed any light on officials that you may have spoken with in your role? And can you really clarify for us, you say that Bessent is doing at China. Do you know the list of other countries in his portfolio as compared to Howard Lutnick, who, of course, has been talking about what we think is this deal with India? and what you may be involved in. There's a little bit of a lack of clarity on who's doing what.
Okay, so first I'll make it clear that as director of the National Economic Council, I'm not engaged actively in negotiations because that's what Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick, and Jameson Greer are doing. That's what the president has assigned them to do, and he's allocated the jobs amongst them in a way that some of the things are public and some of them are not public. But Jameson Greer has gotten 19, I believe, written offers on the reciprocal tariffs. Secretary Lutnick is working really, really hard on the 232 tariffs, which are the ones for national security. And Secretary Bessent is working with our Asian counterparts and making an enormous amount of progress, all of them. And the trade team is 100% behind the president's policies. And I'm there, but I'm not an active negotiator.
Fair enough, and I appreciate you providing that clarity that you were able to provide there, because again, it has been, of course, a little bit confusing. It still remains a little bit confusing. But let's change gears. I want to talk to you about Jeff Bezos, of course, the president there discussing his phone call with Jeff Bezos. Pretty remarkable that a U.S. company that wants to be transparent with consumers about why they're paying the prices that they are would then be said to be political. Is this political interference in the free market?
No. First of all, I got to say that I'm really glad to have a president that if he notices something that needs to be fixed for American workers in the U.S. economy, that he can pick up the phone, they pick it up right away, and then he gets to the bottom of it. The bottom line is that if we charge a tariff on a foreign country, then if they have inelastic supply to us, then the supplier in that country is going to bear the tariff, not the U.S. consumer. And the idea that Amazon is going to say that the tariff is passing through to the consumer means that they don't understand economics. And so you covered it as a debacle. I did think it was a debacle for whoever's doing economics at Amazon, because they were assuming something that's contrary to basic economics about who bears the tariff. And it was correct for Jeff Bezos to apologize for it and to correct the record that Amazon, whoever.
Trump is such an OG. They're literally lecturing Amazon on who bears the cost for tariffs. And Jeff Bezos had to apologize. Trump is just a masterful player.
That made a big mistake. I wonder if they'll have a job tomorrow.
We're looking at live pictures right now of the president landing in Michigan. So, of course, obviously, if he starts to make comments, Kevin, I'll have to jump in and cut us off. This does appear to be the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, meeting him. Clearly a very windy day there in Michigan. Kevin, the administration, the president, has acknowledged that there's going to be some short-term pain here. And while I understand the argument that you are trying to make about who pays the cost of tariffs, every other Republican in the decade I spent covering the Hill was very eager to tell me that tariffs were a tax that were paid by consumers and not by anyone else. And the reality is that's part of the pain that Americans are likely to bear. So I think my question to you is, if at the end of the day it's companies that are passing this along, how much short-term pain are voters willing to endure?
No, talking about it as pain is just absolutely incorrect. And the way to think about it is, if you think that when China entered the WTO is going to be so good because you're getting all these cheap Chinese products in America, then you would expect that Americans would be better off, that their standard of living would go up. And what we saw was after China entered the WTO for 15 years in a row, real wages declined. They were down $1,200 over the next 15 years because the cheap goods were overpowered by the reduction in labor demand and the really bad wages. President Trump came in with these. Let me finish this. President Trump came in the previous term, and he pushed policies just like these that were supply side, that created jobs for Americans, and real wages went up by $6,500 in the next 3 years, $6,500 per year. And that's more than you got for the previous 16 years. And so what he's doing is he's taking the policies that work for the American worker and he's just doubling down on them. And the idea that that's pain is just incorrect. He's got his eye on the horizon, and it's going to be better than the first term, for sure, because these are stronger policies now that we have even more conviction, even conviction on the Hill. We met with the congressional leaders, Scott Bessent and I, yesterday, and everybody's 100% behind the president's agenda, and especially behind right now the reconciliation package that's going to deliver big tax cuts for American workers and onshore a lot of jobs.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, I understand that. No, it's okay. I appreciate it. You're making the long-term argument, which absolutely voters also tell us.
She said,
I
understand
give Trump a chance, right? When we've gone to our John King was out, talking with swing voters. and they will say, well, this might work. Some of them are willing to give him a chance. Again, that's why I said the short-term pain of this, because we also have Apollo Global, the chief economist there, said that we are facing potentially COVID-like shortages within months because of container ships that are parked in Chinese ports. Are Americans going to tolerate that?
We are not seeing any evidence of COVID-like shortages. The bottom line is that we had a jobs report. The last jobs report that we had, we'll get the next one on Friday, was way above expectation because American employers are creating jobs in America again. If they create jobs in America, then Americans have wages in their pockets. And I don't think that Americans want to give President Trump a chance because they like the way he looks on TV, although I think he's great on TV. They're giving President Trump a chance because they know that his policies worked for them. They looked at their wallets and they voted for him, and they're looking at their wallets after President Biden's inflation. They're saying, wait, what happened? And President Trump's going in and he's going to fix the problem, and he's fixing it already. I don't think you need to talk about short-term pain. The last jobs report was fantastic.
So before I let you go, you also mentioned, of course, the reconciliation bill, and which, of course,
I am so glad for the people that Trump has doing his job for him. They are good spokesmen, very articulate, skillful communicator, especially Marco Rubio. But everybody's great. Nobody's like they don't know what they're doing. Everybody actually knows what they're doing, and this is it's like a breath of fresh air. Okay, from the last 4 years to what we have now, it is a breath of fresh air.
We often shorthand it here for our viewers as Trump's agenda on the Hill. Some people call it the tax cut package. There has been a suggestion that some Republicans in Congress may be open to raising the top tax bracket rate, or rather allowing it to revert back to where it was before the old Trump tax cuts, to make that highest tax bracket rate higher than it is right now. Does the administration want Republicans on Capitol Hill to raise the top bracket rate?
No, 100% not. President Trump has made it clear that he doesn't think that should be on the table. So it's 100% not on the table to do that. But what is on the table, I could just say, because Secretary Bessent and I, after meeting with the president, met with the majority leader, the Speaker of the House, and the rest of the team up there on the Hill, and it was astonishing, the agreement. And you would have to concur that it's astonishing this pace at which the tax bills are moving forward. Last time we didn't really get it until the fall, and here we are looking at maybe early summer, everything being passed. And that's really what President Trump has been able to accomplish this time, because everything is working so smoothly. You mentioned at the beginning, it was one thing I disagreed about, that you think what we've been doing is shocking. I don't think you should be shocked, because what we've been doing is exactly what President Trump promised he would do during the campaign, and now he's delivering for all of us.
And that's just facts, okay? That is absolute facts. Everything he's doing right now, from the border to ending the war to tariffs, he said it during the campaign.
Hello,
that's why I voted.
Michigan. Hello. We love you, Michigan.
All right, here we go.
We love you. We just had the biggest victory in Michigan. They said, sir, it's going to be hard. Well,
all right, here we go. Ellie requested for this. So, of course, here we go, Ellie. This is for you.
Won it twice. We actually won it 3 times. You want to really know that? But I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state. I love this state. Got a lot of auto jobs coming. Watch what's happening. The companies are coming in by the tens. You got to see what's happening. They all want to come back to Michigan and build cars again. You know why? Because of our tax and tariff policy. They're coming from all over the world. They're coming up and they're opening up plants, and they're talking to us all day and all night. They want to get here, and they're coming in at levels you've never seen before. And I want to thank the auto workers for your support. That was great. But I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. And we're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country. And that's according to many, many people. This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in. And week by week, we're ending illegal immigration. We're taking back our jobs and protecting our great American auto workers and all of our workers, frankly. We're protecting all of our workers. We're restoring the rule of law, which was sort of out the window with this crazy guy we had. How the hell did that guy ever become president? Could somebody explain to me? How the hell did that happen? There's my friend, Blacks for Trump. I like that guy. He follows me. He follows me. We love you. Your whole group has been so supportive over the years. I want to thank you. Everyone thinks I pay you a fortune. I don't know. I don't even know who the hell he is. I just like him. True. Thank you very much. Thank all of the fellas. Thank them all. But we're ending the inflation nightmare, the worst that we've had probably in the history of our country, getting woke lunacy and transgender insanity the hell out of our government. We're stopping the indoctrination of our children, slashing billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. And above all, we're saving the American dream. We're making America great again, and it's happening fast, too. What the world has witnessed in the past 14 weeks is a revolution of common sense. That's all it is, really. We're conservative. You're conservative, you're liberal, whatever the hell. You know what it's all about? It's about common sense when you think about it. We're for common sense. We like strong borders. We like good education. We like low interest rates. We like being able to buy a beautiful car. And now deduct the interest on the loan. That's never happened before. We want a strong military. We want low taxes. You know, the Democrats, they campaign on, we will raise your taxes. It's the first time. You know, I haven't been doing this that long, actually, compared to a lot of people. They've been doing it for a long time. They say, you became president. I can't get out of Congress, or some of them can't even get into Congress. But, you know, I haven't been doing it that long, but all my life I've been watching. And I've never heard people campaigning that they're going to raise taxes. It's always been, we will reduce your taxes, Democrat, Republican. Now they go, we're going to raise your taxes. If our bill doesn't pass, the Republicans, we have 100% just about Republican support, but it would be nice if we had just a couple of Democrats just to make sure, because, you know, every once in a while you have a grandstander Republican. We have some grandstanders.
Grandstanders.
But every once in a while, not many. But remember who those grandstanders were and vote them the hell out of office, okay? Will you do that?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Vote them out of office. You know, they do it they're morally bound. You know what the answer is? If you don't get it, you're going to have the highest tax increase in history instead of the greatest tax cut in history. If the Democrats prevail on this bill, you get a 58% tax increase. Would you like that? These are the Democrats. But I've never seen all the years they campaign, we will raise your taxes. I say, this country has gone crazy. And today they did it again. Some guy that I'd never heard of. John James, is he a congressman, this guy? He said, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start the impeachment of Donald Trump. What the hell did I do? Here we go again. They want to impeach me.
What?
This lunatic used up. Actually, I had the television way down, and I said to our great First Lady, listen, did I just hear I was being impeached again? We're getting good at this, though. No, they've gone totally crazy. These people, and you know what? They've totally lost their confidence, too. They can't even tell a lunatic like this dumb guy that said it. And then you have the other one that's always with the cane. He's always impeaching. He raises his cane. He always impeaches. But they have no control over those people. They have no control, and the reason is they've lost their confidence. They have no confidence anymore as a party. They have no candidates. And, you know, when they say that Bernie's probably the best they have. By the way, he's about 7 years older than me, more, 8 years older. One thing I got to give him credit, he's a lunatic, but he's still pretty sharp. And he's going around with AOC +3. You know, the +3 follow him. They hang on for little bits. They hang on for nuggets. And they get crowds. They say, our crowds are so much bigger than their crowds. Their crowds are small. If I ever had a crowd like their biggest crowd, they'd say it's over for Trump. He's lost the magic. But this is great, and all the people outside, we love you. We put screens up. We're taking back our country from a sick political class that got rich selling America out and bleeding America dry. We don't let that happen anymore. And we had 4 great years. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. The stock market went up 88%. We did great. And we're going to do better now, because now we learned a little bit. After years of leaders who sent your money to defend the borders of distant foreign nations, that's what we did. We'd fight for other nations, but not for ourselves. You finally have a president who is defending our borders and our nation.
Thanks.
After decades of politicians who destroyed Detroit to build up Beijing, you finally have a champion for workers in the White House, and instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first. After a lifetime of unelected bureaucrats stealing your paychecks, attacking your values, and trampling your freedoms, we are stopping their gravy train, ending their power trip, and telling thousands of corrupt, incompetent, and unnecessary deep state bureaucrats, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get out of here. In 100 days, we have delivered the most profound change in Washington in nearly 100 years. I read an editorial today that this is the most consequential presidency in history. How about that? And it wasn't even by a group that would normally be supporting us. It was a group of people that I think they tend to be on the liberal side, but they said it's the most important election. The November 5th, it changed it all. You have to see, well, you hear some of these numbers, but that is the most consequential election that we've ever had in our country. And what a nice thing. I'm going to start again subscribing to that particular paper. Even if I don't read it much, I'm going to subscribe. But it was a very nice compliment, especially from them. They know who I'm talking about. We're ushering out the long reign of special interests and the radical left lunatics, and we're ushering in the golden age of America. That's what we have. Right? Front row Joe. Look at you, front row Joes. I miss you guys. I miss the campaign. You haven't changed. You've lost a couple of pounds. Oh, he's probably getting to one of those jabbers. You've lost a couple of pounds. You look good. And I have Mr. Wall here. This guy. How many rallies have you gone to? Like hundreds, and we love him here. The Wall. One day I'm going to get that suit and I'm going to wear it on stage. We appreciate it, fellas. Great. Thank you. You know, we have a group of ladies. I don't know if they're here, but we have a group of women from North Carolina, a large group, like 50 of the most beautiful women, and they've been to 129 rallies. They're happily married, I think, too. They just keep going to rallies all the time. But they're great. North Carolina, where we won by big numbers. Nowhere has this transformation been more dramatic than our southern border. You have seen a change on your southern border that Sleepy Joe said couldn't happen. Sleepy Joe, the worst president in history, said it couldn't happen.
Sleepy Joe.
The last administration engineered a massive border invasion, allowing gangs, cartels, and terrorists to infiltrate our communities and rape and murder our citizens. And that is being nice about it. That's actually being nice about it. They are the worst. But standing before you today, I can proudly report that this heinous betrayal is over and that we have achieved the most secure border in American history, by far, in American history. For 2 months in a row, we have now set all-time records, and this is by the media, the fake news media, which most of it is fake. We've set all-time records for the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. Think of that, ever recorded. The number of illegal border crossers released into the United States is down, listen to this please, 99.999%. Think of that, 99.999. 3 people got in. 3. And I got angry as hell at Tom Homan. How did you allow 3, Tom?
Tom.
I called up Christy. Christy Noem's doing a great job, Tom Homan. I said, how did you allow 3 people? No, they allowed a few in for medical reasons. They had a couple of, were very sick. The ones that got in were really very sick, and we had to take care of them, but it was a few people. But 3 people got in versus hundreds of thousands in the last administration. Hundreds of thousands a month were pouring in. Biden had no control. Thank goodness he appointed a great border czar, right? Kamala. Kamala. She was a great candidate.
Oh, man.
She was fantastic. Joe Biden was down 35 points. The debate was not a good one for him. He said, you know, if I didn't debate, I could have gone all the way. He was down 35 points, and they decided to replace him. Nothing ever happens like what happens to me. It never happens to anybody else. I had to beat 2 candidates, so he's down. This is like you're in a fight. Oh, Dana White, the UFC, you're in a fight, and you're just beating the guy so badly, and they say, oh, let's put in another fighter. That's what happened. And I knew nothing about her. She was vice president, but nobody knew a damn thing about her. She had nothing to do with the border, even though she was appointed border czar. The great people, all of the great people, Paul and all of the border patrol people, they never spoke to her. They never heard about her. For 4 years, she never called. But there's never been such a difference in anything as the difference between the border today and the border what it was just 6 months ago. So I want to say congratulations, America. It's about time. If we had not won the 2024 election, oh, does that sound good, right? We won the 24, all that work. The radical left Democrats would right now be importing the next 10 million invaders and giving amnesty to 30 or 40 million illegals, many of them criminals, many of them frankly, murderers and people of crime at the absolute highest level. Real bad people. It would only be a matter of years or months until America itself became a failed third world nation. That was happening to us. We were going to be a third world nation. I'll tell you what, if these guys won, if this group of radical lunatics, and by the way, you know, Biden, we find out that whoever operated the auto pen was the real president, and Biden knew nothing about it. You know, he had a group of radical left guys who were very smart, and a woman, a particular woman. Very, very smart people. These are not stupid people. These are sick people, but they're not stupid people. And they were very smart. What they're best at is cheating at election. They cheat on elections. That's their single greatest trait. They cheat like hell. And let me tell you, they tried to cheat on this election, but we made it too big to rig. Remember? Too big to rig. They tried. I watched those numbers. We had Elon with us. Elon is a smart guy. Elon was with us. Elon Musk. And I was sitting with Dana White and Elon Musk, and I'm watching the numbers in Pennsylvania, and we're winning so easily. Then all of a sudden it flatlined. And I said, I think they're cheating again. Look at this. What's going on? I think they're cheating again. And Elon looked at us. He goes, no, you're going to win. They just don't know it yet. And about 15 minutes later, we won, sort of. Crazy. I'll never forget. You're going to win. They just don't know it yet. But you know what? We made it too big to rig. It was too big. Starting on day one, I deployed the U.S. military to defend our country from the invasion of our border. I shut down all migrant flights. Do you remember when we're talking about people coming in, they're trying to deny it, okay? So people are flowing in. They say, no, I don't see any people. It's like, what's wrong? But then we saw airplanes going overhead. We said, what the hell are those airplanes doing? Big Boeing 757s were traveling right overhead, loaded up with people. I say, where the hell are those planes going? They were loaded up with migrants coming in illegally, flying in by plane, paid for by the U.S. government. I'll tell you, they are sick. Remember that day? That was the day we found out that not only do we have to defend it here, we have to defend it not only in the water, but we have to defend it in the air. The planes were going over us. I said, what the hell is that? I banned all welfare to illegals, and I signed an order that will end automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens. No citizenship. For years, Joe Biden and the media told us that stopping the flood of illegal immigration was absolutely impossible. He said it was impossible. He didn't know what the hell anybody was talking about. He said it was impossible, that the president had no power to stop what was needed in the form of legislation. He needed legislation. He had no power to get it. But it turned out that all we needed was a new president. Within days of taking office, I signed the Laken Riley Act. Laken Riley, beautiful Laken Riley, who was killed by an illegal immigrant, viciously, violently killed. But I signed the Laken Riley Act to facilitate the expulsion of dangerous criminal aliens, and when necessary, we had to put them in jail. We couldn't take a chance that they'd come back in again. In recent weeks, ICE, who are great, these people are great, has arrested dozens of child rapists along with murderers, kidnappers, drug traffickers, and thieves, and frankly, people from mental institutions. We've designated 6 murderous Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. We have also designated 2 bloodthirsty transnational gangs, MS-13 and Trendiaragua, TDA. They've been designated the highest level of terrorists, and that lets us do a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to do. We got to get them out of here before they kill more people. They've killed plenty. My administration has increased arrests of known and suspected terrorists by 655%. Is that okay? We tried to get it higher. But the courts are giving us a hard time. Can you believe? I won on the basis of, I think the number one thing was on illegal immigration, the border, the people pouring across our border that are from all over the world. They're unbelievably bad, in many cases, unbelievably bad people. I think that was the number one thing. And now the courts are trying to say that, that doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to be allowed to stand. Democrats have vowed mass invasion and mass migration. We are delivering mass deportation, and it's happening very fast. And the worst of the worst are being sent to a no-nonsense prison in El Salvador. Why don't you watch this? Watch this. Take a look.
What?
So under President Trump, America is a dumping ground for criminals no longer. They're not even trying to come in. But while we're fighting to protect Americans, the radical left Democrats, who are so bad for this country, are fighting to protect TDA, you just saw that, and MS-13 criminals, and you don't even know which is worse, but they are the top of the line. For years, Democrat politicians did not raise one word of protest as American women and girls were raped and slaughtered by these monsters. They were raped and slaughtered by numbers that you don't even want to hear about. But the second we try to deport them, the radical Democrat Party is racing to the defense of some of the most violent savages on the face of the earth. Who the hell would vote for these people? They're racing to the courts to help them, but this is not what the people want. This is not what they voted for in record numbers. I won the election. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote. And we got 312 electoral college votes. And just this month, 2 Venezuelan members of TDA, Trinidad, were arrested in Washington state for kidnapping a 58-year-old woman, driving a power drill through her hand to extort her bank account information, shooting her, leaving her for dead. And miraculously, she just survived, but she's not feeling so well. In January, Trinidad member in Chicago kidnapped 3 women, took them in an alley, lined them up, and shot them each in the head. They all died. And the FBI recently assessed that these vicious gangs have been sent by the foreign regime in Venezuela to foment violence and instability in the United States of America. Can't let that happen. And it's not just, in all fairness, not Venezuela. It's all over the world. It's all over. They come in from the Congo. They come in from Africa. The Congo, they've emptied out their prisons into our country. But they come from Africa, Asia, South America. They come from all over bad parts of Europe. That's why we've invoked the Alien Enemies Act to expel every foreign terrorist from our soil as quickly as possible. Never forget the same people that we now claim we're just not taking this crap anymore. We can't. They're claiming that we're not allowed to deport illegals, and they're the ones who orchestrated an 8-year campaign to jail their political opponents. Do you know what I mean? They want to jail. They want to jail. That's all they can do, jail their political opponents. What they did to people is a disgrace. And now they come after us. Why are you not nice to them? Why are you not nice to them? They tried to jail your president. They tried to jail. Except for the really courageousness of a few very good judges, you know, we could have been calling you from the other side of the bar saying, hey, fellows, how about a little protest? How about a little protest? But they cheered the assassination of CEOs, looted our cities, and destroyed our property. No, they tried to jail our politicians, and they tried to jail a lot of people, many of whom didn't even know what the hell they were being looked at for. These people are criminals. If they had their way, we would be living in a third world hellhole. That's what they want. Removing the invaders is not just a campaign pledge. It's my solemn duty as Commander-in-Chief. I have an obligation to do it. Save our country. And that's why we got, despite the fake polls, you know, they do these polls where they interview far more Democrats than Republicans. I saw them over the last few days, and I had them checked out. They interview far more Democrats for the polls. They interview Democrats by big numbers and then Republicans by small. They say, Trump only has a 44% approval rating. Well, it's actually not bad. But when you figure that if it were a legit poll, it would be in the 60s or 70s. These people are a bunch of crooked people. No, they interview more Democrats than Republicans. In other words, they take the poll and they interview Democrats. They poll Democrats. And then they say, they try and depress it as much, just like they write bad stories. 97% of the stories written about me, think of it, were negative, and yet we won in a landslide because they have no credibility. And also, we cannot allow a handful of communist, radical left judges to obstruct the enforcement of our laws and assume the duties that belong solely to the President of the United States. Judges are trying to take away the power given to the President to keep our country safe, and it's not a good thing. But I hope, for the sake of our country, that the Supreme Court is going to save this, because we have to do something. These people are just looking to destroy our country. Nothing will stop me in the mission to keep America safe again. It's very simple. Keep America safe again. And our first 100 days have also produced historic results in the battle to defeat Biden's inflation disaster and bring jobs and wealth back to America, and bring them back to Michigan, okay? We want to bring them back. As an example, since I took office, the cost of eggs is down 87%. Now, what? You remember a few weeks ago, before Thanksgiving, before we heard about it, I heard about it a long time ago. Before Thanksgiving, I heard about it. And then I was hearing that I wasn't president. This guy was barely president. Nobody knew, was he president? Who the hell was president? To this day, I say it was the one that operated the auto pen, but what do I know? But I was hearing about eggs, and then all of a sudden we have a great election victory. And my first week in office, they start screaming at me, "What about the price of eggs? Eggs, eggs." I said, "I've only been here for 6 days. I was there 6 days." I said, "What's wrong with eggs?" They said, "The price of eggs has gone through the roof, and you won't be able to have them for Easter." So I put a very capable Brooke Rollins, who's our wonderful Commissioner of Agriculture that you know in Michigan. I said, "Brooke, I've only been here 6 days before I heard, maybe even less, maybe 5, maybe 4. But it was my first week." And I said, "Brooke, you got to save me here. I'm getting killed about eggs. What the hell's going on with eggs?" She said, "Well, you can't get them. The price is through the roof, and it looks like we're going to have a real problem for Easter. You're not going to have eggs." I said, "Brooke, that doesn't sound politically viable to me. That doesn't sound good." Because nobody's going to believe me when you get out there that it's Sleepy Joe Biden's fault. So, Brooke, you got to get going, Brooke, please. And she did a great job. And you had so many eggs for Easter, and your price was down 87% from that point. Prices are coming way down. You know, the fake news doesn't say it. They said, he pledged. Now, I pledged safe borders. I pledged all sorts of things. But they said, he pledged to bring prices down. Well, that's what I've done. They're trying to say the prices have gone up. Your energy, your car, your gasoline, they have 3 states this week, a couple of days ago, that were $1.98 a gallon. So gasoline prices are down by a lot. Energy prices are down. Mortgage rates actually just went down. Prescription drug prices just saw their largest monthly decline ever recorded. How about that? Remember what you heard. Prescription drug prices just took the biggest plunge ever since they've recorded the prices, which have basically gone up, except for my 4 years. They did pretty well. But we got to know that system. The system is a bad system. But they just took the biggest dive ever in the history of prescription drug prices. Think of that. That's a big thing. I got to say it again and again, because they will never tell you that. The fake news will never tell you that. Grocery prices have gone down. Everything's gone down. And yet I saw this person on MSDNC, which I think is probably even worse than CNN. It's probably worse. Probably worse than CNN. But I saw this horrible, horrible anchor. How these people get jobs. I wouldn't hire them to do the most menial of chores. But I saw this person. He campaigned on bringing prices down. Every price has gone down. What am I going to do? I mean, think of it. Gasoline was almost $4 not so long ago. And now, Mike, we just hit $1.98 in a lot of states. Think of it. And they're saying, and you know what? And inflation is basically down. And interest rates came down despite the fact that I have a Fed person who's not really doing a good job. But I won't say that. I want to be very nice. I want to be very nice and respectful to the Fed. You're not supposed to criticize the Fed. You're supposed to let him do his own thing. But I know much more than he does about interest rates, believe me.
Yeah.
Core inflation has reached the lowest rate in 4 years. And last month, we had the largest drop in consumer prices since the pandemic. This is all done in 100 days. Think of that. This is all done in 100 days. But when you watch the fake news, you see fake polls.
Check the couch.
Again, they poll more Democrats than Republicans. Democrats aren't going to say, I'm going to vote for Trump. And we still got 45, 44%. But on the legitimate polls, I think we're in the 60s. I think we're in the 60s or 70s or something. In 3 months, we have created 350,000 jobs. Think of that. For the first time in recent memory, job gains for native-born Americans now exceed job gains for foreign workers. This is for the first time, and nobody even knows when, Americans now are doing better than foreign workers. How about that? I mean, that's okay. I want everyone to do well, but that's okay. And to curb inflation, we're cutting a record number of job-killing regulations. We beat in the 4-year first administration, which was a tremendous success. We cut more regulations than any president in history, including 2-term presidents, including Roosevelt, who was more than a 2-term president. We cut more regulations than any president in history in 1 term, and now our 2nd term. And, you know, I don't know why. It was so important to win because they used to say, the fake news, to be a great president, you have to serve 2 terms. So now we're going to serve 2 terms. Now they've taken that one. Cross. Right? Right?
Okay, so I just wanted to bring this up. Okay, so here is the egg we got from the White House. You can see the White House pressed on it. So this was for Easter White House egg roll. This is supposed to be Trump's printed signature. And this is the White House. But this isn't a real egg, though. So we didn't even get a real egg in a White House. But, yeah, I just brought that up. But, yeah, here we go.
Dr. Ross, cross that one off. Cross that one off. No, they say it all the time. When I was out, they say, well, they go on through. Thank you. Thank you. Sure. But we've ended the radical left. Well, we actually already served 3, but if you count. But remember, I like the victories. I like the 3 victories, which we absolutely had. I just don't like the results of the middle term, the results. I don't want those results, John. I don't want those results. What results? What a disgrace. If we would have had this group for another year, we wouldn't have a country left. I really mean it. I don't think we would have had a country left. And now we're respected all over the world. They're coming from all over the world to see you, President. They're coming from India. They're coming from France. They're coming from Spain. Yeah, they're coming from China, too. Yeah, they're coming from China. They're coming from all over the world to see you, President. They want to make a deal. They want to make a deal. And, you know, we'll make deals, but we don't have to. We are the ones that have the product. We are the ones at the United States. They want a piece of our product. We can just set the price. But I want to be respectful and I want to be nice. But if it takes too long, I'll just set a price. Say, you could buy or you don't have to buy. We lost, think of this, we lost billions and billions of dollars a day. Billions, not millions, billions of dollars a day. And under Sleepy Joe Biden. What's better, Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe? Ready? A poll, a free poll.
A free poll.
Because these pollsters are so corrupt.
He does this every time.
This is a real poll. We're going to poll Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe. Ready? What's a better name for us to call him? Sleepy Joe? Or Crooked Joe? I'm not surprised. This happens. I sort of loved Sleepy Joe, it just had a nice ring to it. Because he had one ability I didn't have. He goes to the beach, right? And he could fall asleep on a cottage, drooling out of the side of his mouth, and he'd be sleeping within minutes, carrying the aluminum chair, the kind that's meant for old people and children to carry. It weighs like about 4 ounces. And he couldn't get his feet out of the sand. And he'd sleep, he'd fall in this thing, and with it, and he'd have, he's president, so you'd have cameras. He'd be in a bathing suit. Somebody convinced him that he looks great in a bathing suit. He's 82 years old. Cary Grant didn't look great in a bathing suit when he was 82. You don't look great. At some point you have other assets, okay? But that's not one. But he'd go and he'd walk in the sand and he'd fall into that thing, and within seconds he was sleeping. I'd be tossing and turning and scheming and thinking and saying, how am I going to beat China? How am I going to stop the war with Russia and Ukraine? This guy could fall asleep with cameras blazing, right? Not too many cameras were blazing, but enough were blazing that you saw it. I thought it was a great ability that he had, actually. We've ended the radical left war on American energy. We've stopped their crusade on coal. Did you see what I did the other day? Clean, beautiful coal. I said, you're not allowed to use the word coal unless you say clean, beautiful coal. So you have guys getting up, Department of Energy. We have great people at Department of Energy. They talk about clean, beautiful coal. China uses coal. They're opening up a coal plant every week. A massive coal plant, but we're not allowed to use it. But now we are, because last week I gave it absolute, total approval. And you know what I don't give approval to? Those stupid windmills that go round and round and round. And we've ended the Green New scam. We've reopened ANWR, the greatest drilling site anywhere in the world, in Alaska, and implemented the new energy policy of the United States. You know what it is? We have a policy. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. That's our policy. That's our policy, Michael, right? Great Michael Whatley, head of the Republican Party. He's done a good job. Him and Laura, they took the party by storm, right? He had a good candidate, but had a couple of good candidates, didn't he? Michael's been incredible, actually. Michael Whatley, North Carolina. He watched in 2020. He did so good for me. And, he was in North Carolina. He did so great. What's the problem over there? What's the problem? Is that a radical left lunatic? He's just a child. All right, get him out. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought it was a guy. Thank you. And she now has to go home to a mother who's a big Trump fan. Her mother's watching.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said he, and it's a she. I'm sorry. To keep my promise to the great state of Michigan, I terminated Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate, where you were mandated to buy an electric vehicle. You were mandated within just a few years to buy an electric vehicle. How about that? And you know what? They're great, but people don't. Not everybody wants them. You got to be able to buy a hybrid, a gasoline-powered car. You can buy lots of different cars, but you can't be mandated to do anything. And I've already proudly imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles, any foreign car, like they do to us. This is going to create more jobs in this state and this country. And to help these automakers bring their factories home as rapidly as possible, I've just signed an executive order to give partial tariff rebates to any company that assembles its cars right here in the U.S. In other words, if they can't make it in time because they have to do it here, otherwise they haven't, I'm giving them a little bit of a break, right? They took in parts from all over the world. I don't want that. I want them to make their parts here. But I gave them a little bit of time. It's 15% and then 10% of the parts, so it's not so bad. Somebody would say, oh, well, that's a change in parts. It's not. It's called a little flexibility. The guys were crying. They love it. Everything's good. But just in case we can't get everything in time, we gave them a little bit. So it's 15% of the parts, and then it's 10% of the parts. We give them a little time before we slaughter them if they don't do this. Right. They're going to make so much money. They're going to have so many jobs. No, but jobs are way up. Jobs are way up. We're pleased to be joined tonight by Brian Panebecker. Do you know who that is? Of the auto workers for Trump. And Brian is a union guy, loves the unions, loves everything, but he knew that Trump was right. Brian, come up here, Brian. I got to see Brian. Look at the arms in this guy. Look at the arms. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor to be here on your 100th day in office of your second term. And I just want to remind you of something I told you at one of your last rallies before the election. I've got it on video. I've watched it dozens of times at home. After I was able to speak, I turned to you and I said, Mr. President, Macomb County is going to win Michigan for you. And that's exactly what happened. We had a margin of victory of 70,000 votes in this county alone. Thank you, Macomb County. You know, I met President Trump 8 years ago in Novi, and we had never met before. And as I was stepping towards him backstage to get my picture taken, I knew I only had 10, 15 seconds to say something to him before we got our pictures. Fortunately, my son was standing behind me, so I've got a witness to this. And I said, Mr. Trump, we've got the keys to the White House waiting for you in Macomb County. And he kind of chuckled. He said, oh, yeah, how's that? And I said, well, Macomb County is the home of the Reagan Democrats. If you come to Macomb County and you ask for their support and you get it, you might win Macomb County big enough to carry the whole state of Michigan. And that's exactly what he did. So I want to say thank you to the auto workers, everybody who works in the automotive field, the suppliers, every one of you, the truck drivers. Thank you so much for supporting the greatest president in our lifetimes. Now, I've got a little business announcement I want to make. I hope the president doesn't mind. But when I was backstage with him earlier and got my picture taken, I said, Mr. President, I've got a deal that you can't refuse. And he said, what's that? And I said, well, I'm writing a book, and it's going to be about my political journey. I've been involved in some things here in Michigan, conservative causes like right to work and the Michigan Civil Rights Initiative. And I said, you have a publishing company, Winning Team Publishing. It's run by Don Jr. and his partner. I said, I'll agree to use your publishing company if you agree to write the foreword to my book. He stuck out his hand and said, I'll do it. That's how you negotiate with the best negotiator in the world. So listen, I got one last thing to say. All of us have a job to do. Number one, we have to win the 2026 elections. It has to happen. Sri Thanadar, that lunatic Democrat from Detroit, is already threatening to impeach President Trump if they get the majority back. But luckily, right now, we've got good people in Congress like Congressman John James over here who are stopping that from happening. But listen up. So we got to get out, and we don't have any time to waste. We got to start talking to our friends, our neighbors, our family, our coworkers. The campaign for 2026 starts tomorrow. We've got to win that election. So The work is not over. The work has just begun. November 5th was not the end. It was the beginning of the golden age. And let's all tell President Trump how much we support what he's done the first 100 days in office. Oh, yeah, I forgot. There's one other thing I wanted to say in front of all these thousands of people to President Trump. President Trump, I love you.
Yeah, he's getting that forward to that
Thank
book
you.
for sure. I'll tell you that
man.
much.
He's a great guy. You know, he was with me from day one, 2015. Before 2016, he was there from day one. He got it. He said, we're losing our car industry. That's what he really cared about. He just said, I've had so many friends who were laid off. It's horrible. They lay us off like it's nothing. And the business went to China, it went to Japan, went to all countries all over the world. They're laying us off, sir. And he said, we can solve that. I told him, we can solve that so fast. He's one of the early people that got it. And we've solved it. We're going to be doing numbers that nobody's ever believed. We'll be the number one in the world again. Nobody can believe it because we have been beaten up so badly by these countries that have rigged the whole thing. They fight like hell. They're smart. Their product is good, but our product's going to be a lot better. We're going to do something that nobody believes. And he saw it right at the beginning. So I appreciate it, Brian. And he was there at the I love the guys from the beginning. I love those early guys. Those guys are right there. They were there from the beginning, too. No, you're going to see numbers, and you're already seeing them. Look, you know, we have many Hondas coming in, and they're coming in. We let them build their cars here. We don't want them to build them in Japan. We love Japan. We don't want them building them in Japan. We want them to build them here. We want China to build them in here. We want them all to build them right in here. That's what they've done to us for 40 years, and they've drained us. Now we're doing it to them at a better level than they ever dreamed possible. To further rebuild the industrial bedrock of our country, I've imposed 25% tariffs on foreign aluminum and steel. It's keeping our steel mills going. I did that. If I didn't do that with steel in the my first term, we wouldn't have a steel mill in the United States right now, and everybody knows it. I did it for washing machines, too, by the way. That's why I asked the people at Whirlpool. They were going to close. They were in deep trouble. I did it because they were dumping machines. I did a 50% tariff, was going to raise it to 100%. They didn't even have to bother. They became a tremendously successful company overnight. They were ready to close. They came to me with tears in their eyes in my office early on, first term. And we're doing it now at levels never seen before, and the results are going to be even better, because we've been abused by friend and foe. And in many cases, friend has abused us more so than foe on trade. So I want to just let you know you're going to be very proud of this country very soon. And with my China tariffs, we're ending the greatest job theft in the history of the world. China's taken more jobs from us than any country has ever taken from another country. And that doesn't mean we're not going to get along. We get along with China. I mean, their tariff now is at 145%. So essentially, that's a big difference between that and zero. But I think it's going to work out. They want to make a deal, and we're going to make a deal, but it's going to be a fair deal. It's not going to be a deal that we lose $1 trillion a year like they did with Biden. That guy was so bad. He was so bad. Under Biden, and remember this, we were losing $5 billion a day on trade, and now we're making money. We're actually making money instead of, do you know what $5 billion? Think of that. Mike, how many pillows do you have to make to lose $5 billion? You can make them for 1,000 years. No, we were losing $5 billion a year. Now we've got it where we're making money, and the tariffs haven't even really kicked in. The 25% on cars have. But you know what that means? That means that you're going to make the cars. We don't need the cars from outside. When they say, oh, sir, we want to send you a lot of cars, I said, we really don't want your cars. We really don't want. We want to make our own cars. That includes Canada. That includes Mexico, who have taken a tremendous amount of our business. Canada's taken off a tremendous, like 10, 12%. Mexico is 32%. They took 32% of our car production. We don't want them to have that. We want that. Why are we giving it to them? Why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year? Why are we subsidizing Mexico for $300 billion a year? There's no reason for it. I'm proud to be the president for the workers and not the outsourcers, the president who stands up for Main Street, not Wall Street. You know, I like Wall Street. I like Wall Street. I have a gorgeous, beautiful building on Wall Street, 40 Wall Street. Anybody? You want a little space? I'll get you some space real quickly. Now I've got one of the most beautiful buildings in the world on Wall Street, but I still like Main Street because you're Main Street. I want Main Street over Wall Street. And we want to protect the middle class, not the political class. That's all. I haven't done this very long. We want to protect our people. You know, this is the greatest, when you think about this, look, here we are, it's not even like election, it's after the election. And you have crowds like this, and to have them, we're going to do the commencement at University of Alabama. And they just called and they said, it's going to be the biggest crowd we've ever had we've never had a crowd like this. And I'm doing it at West Point, and they called and said the same thing. We love West Point. We love University of Alabama. We love Alabama. You know what I won Alabama by? Like almost 50 points. So when they called and they said, would you like to do the commencement? I said, okay, I'll do it. But they're going to have the biggest crowd they ever had by maybe 4 or 5 times, they told me. Thanks for all of the things that we've done and to our policies. Trillions of dollars are now pouring into the United States because of common sense, just common sense. Apple, great company, was building everything in China. Now they just announced that they're spending $500 billion to invest in America, not in China. My friend Jensen from NVIDIA, they're spending, you know what NVIDIA is? They're spending $500 billion. TSMC, the biggest chip maker in the world by far from Taiwan, they're spending $200 billion in the United States. Amazon, $21 billion. Johnson & Johnson, $55 billion. The Mac, $20 billion. Merck, Stellantis, General Motors are putting in billions and billions of dollars, and many other companies. And as a result of our policies, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. They have a poll, a crazy poll, probably a fake poll too, so I don't know, I don't care.
Probably a fake poll.
First time ever, I think ever, that they're saying the country is headed in the right direction. Has never happened before. I don't know why. But we've accomplished more in 3 months than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or even 8 years, and we're just getting started. Believe me, we're just getting started. We're pleased to be joined by some great people. A person that number one, I have so much confidence in him. The fake news is after him, really after him, but he's a tough cookie. They don't know how tough he is, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Pete.
Everybody's supporting Pete here.
Wow, that's pretty good. How are the Houthis doing? Not too good, right? Our new administrator of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, somebody that everybody knows, but this guy, you know, the show was a big success, but sometimes it hurts your image to have a television show. He's the top, he went to Harvard. I shouldn't even mention that anymore because that used to be a good thing. Today it doesn't mean much. But he went to University of Pennsylvania Medical School, top student, top doctor, top everything. One of the smartest guys in medicine, also a big star, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz, thank you, doctor. Thank you. A man who waited today just came here. He was all sweaty and grimy. I said, what the hell happened? He ran into the building because he wanted to vote in Congress. And I hear we passed the vote, John James, by a lot, right? And thank you for making it here. He had a vote. I said, John, do me a favor, stay and vote. We're voting essentially on the big, beautiful, that gorgeous, big, beautiful bill. I said, you know, I want you there badly, but you got to vote, please. So thank you very much, John. Good job. Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall. Matt, thank you. Thank you, Matt. Michigan Senate Republican Leader Eric Nesbitt. Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. Michigan GOP Chair Jim Runstead. Thank you, Jim. Good job. Nice tie. Thank you, Jim. Great job. One of my favorite people. I mean, we just had such success. You know, we had so many votes stolen in 2020, and then this guy came in, and they didn't steal him from his state, North Carolina, I told you. But they didn't steal him. He had 601 lawyers, and he had lawyers at every voting booth. And I said, who is that guy that did so well? Because we won the state. Other states, you know, they inched us out, you know, at the end, they just inched us out, crooked as hell. But this guy didn't let that happen. His name is Michael Whatley, North Carolina, and now he's the head of the Republican Party, RNC, and he's great. And I must tell you, he worked with a great woman, my daughter-in-law, Laura, who was unbelievable, who's got a very successful television show. That was a tremendous combination. That was a very important combination. Also the great, and you see him on television, he's unbelievable. Hey, Stephen, come up here fast. The great Stephen Miller. Do we like Stephen? Where is Stephen? Come here, Stephen. I love this guy. I love this guy. There is nobody smarter or tougher than Stephen Miller. Stephen, say a couple.
Who's enjoying 100 golden days of America? President Trump has achieved the most secure border in American history. He's fighting violent crime. He's fighting the drug cartels. He's cutting your taxes. He's cutting wasteful spending. He's draining the swamp. He's standing up to the radical left. He's standing up to the communists, and he's making America stronger than it's ever been. President Trump will never stop fighting for you, your children, and your family, and President Trump will make sure that in this country, not illegal aliens, not criminals, not gangbangers, but American citizens come first, last, and always. Thank you. And thank you, President Trump, for being the greatest president in American history.
Ow, yo. Oh, man.
He's great. This guy, he is something special. And he's been with us right from day one. Right from day one, Stephen's been there, right? He's been great. A man who put on about 928 rallies for me. We didn't have a glitch. Justin Caparel. Justin, thank you, wherever you are. He's probably backstage working. We did over 900 of these. Thank you, Justin. And Margot Martin. Does anyone know Margot? Beautiful Margot. I call her the world's greatest photographer. Where is Margot? Margot's great. Where are you, Margot? And she's very shy, actually. She's both beautiful and shy. Thank you. Where? Margot, come up here, Margot. Come up. Come on. You got it. This is the most beautiful. Now, look, I'm not allowed to say this. It's the end of my political career, but I'm going to say it anyway. She's the most beautiful photographer in the world. I don't know if she's the best, but she's the most beautiful.
Trump 2028, anybody?
People love Margot. And how about Caroline? How's Caroline doing? How's Caroline doing? Caroline has taken the world by storm. She's taken it. And, you know, we have a man here that I don't know, but he's defending me all the time on CNN. And he defends me really well, but he can't go too far, because if he goes too far, he'll get fired. I said, you're amazing. You can take it right to the edge. And he really does a good job. He's not allowed to go any further. He would be off, you know, if he really went totally crazy, which he'd like to do. But I think he's terrific. Scott Jennings. Where's Scott? Where are you, Scott? Come here, Scott. This guy, really, I've watched him for years. I don't know him, but he likes Trump. Come here, Scott. Oh, CNN, this is the end of Scott. No, who cares? Don't worry, we'll take care of you, Scott. Scott Jennings, really great.
Oh, my God.
Thank you. Michigan, we were flying in here today, And I said, look at these farms. I got to get a farm in Michigan, because when you own as many libs as I do, you got to put a place to put them all. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir.
And I also want to thank the rest of the Michigan Republican delegation for all the work they do in Congress and who are back in Washington working on the big, beautiful bill. We're going to name it, I think, the big, beautiful bill. In 100 days, I've taken more than 1,000 executive actions, and I could recite our accomplishments all night long. And by the way, did you just see what I did? Straws. I wiped out the paper straw, little thing. These are the little things.
Little things.
Your sink. You ever try buying a new sink and no water comes out? Your shower heads, your toilets, the whole thing, it's a disaster. We now have it so you can have as much water as you want, because it's not an environmental problem. You have areas that can't get rid of their water, and yet they put restrictors on them. You used to take them off, but now you can't because they're welded in, but now you don't have to worry about that because we've opened up your faucets, and we've opened up, especially me. I don't like taking a shower where the water goes drip, drip, drip onto my luxuriant hair. I need a lot of water. I need everything I can get. I don't need to be under a shower trying to get water to come out of that damn thing. So we've opened up the shower heads, the faucets, the toilets, the washing machines that don't give you water. All of that stuff has been opened up, and we're giving you gas ovens, gas stoves, if you'd like. No more electric. You can have electric if you want. I have a lot of friends, they like gas better. You're supposed to sell your gas stove or get it, I don't know, who do you sell it to? Maybe another country, because we're the only country that would be so stupid to that. But the stoves now, you can have gas stoves, all you want. Put 4 of them in your kitchen. I couldn't care less. It's all common sense. People were so angry about that. Remember? They were all angry. Get rid of your gas stove. You have to go to electric. There's something they have with electric that's amazing. And by the way, Elon makes a great car, but not everybody's going to want it. You know, they all say, oh, well, Trump he's under the thumb of Elon. Do you think Elon was happy about ending the all-electric mandate? I don't think he was too happy, but he's a great guy. You know, honestly, never said a thing. He says, let me just compete fairly. By the way, it's not fair what they've done to him, too. That is a disgrace. That is a disgrace. But he's a great guy, and he's really helped us. And, you know, they've saved $150 billion on waste, fraud, and abuse, Doge. So we want to thank him. He's an incredible guy. Anybody that can land a rocket ship. I saw this thing come in. I said, you got to be kidding. This rocket's coming in. You know, most of them go right into the ocean. But he lands it. I was on the phone with somebody talking, and I saw this thing coming in. It's spinning out of control, coming down. It's all burning. It's on fire. Looks like hell. I said, well, just another rocket going into the ocean. And then all of a sudden you see the fire pouring out of the engines, and it starts to slow up, slow. Then it's straight. Then it starts moving over a little bit. Then I say, oh, no, it's hitting the gantry. It's going to hit through, and the engines go, straightens it out. And it gets hugged like you hug your beautiful little baby, right? And I said, who the hell did that? It was Elon. And he told me, you don't have a space program if you have to drop $1 billion machine into the water every time you fly. You have to save those suckers. So he does. He's an amazing guy, and he's a great American, and he loves our country. He loves you. And he's paid a big price to help, but I have a feeling it's going to end up being good for him, actually. I really do. I established the new Presidential Commission to Make America Healthy Again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. He's doing a good job, Dr. Oz, right? He's doing a good job. And he's a little bit different, but I want to tell you, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, and he loves his country. Just last week, Bobby announced that we're banning 8 major artificial dyes from our food supply. Sounds good to me. And on day one, I created that right now very successful Department of Government Efficiency headed by Elon. That was a big thing doing that. I mean, the numbers are really incredible. Doge. So it was a very big thing. We terminated the left-wing money laundering scam known as USAID. How about the money that was going out? How about the money that was going out? Billions and billions. They were giving individual people billions of dollars. Can you believe it? People that had nothing, they got $1 billion. One got $2 billion. $2 billion for the environment. Had $100 in the bank. They got $2 billion. Not $2 million. You know, $2 million would have been a lot. 200,000 would have been a lot, but it would have been fine. $2 billion. And we directed all federal workers to return to the office in person, or unfortunately, they're fired. You're fired. You know, some of these guys got their golf handicap way down during the so-called time where they're supposed to be working at home. You know, they weren't working at home. Who the hell would work at home? How do you work at home? It's terrible. And we found a lot of them where they had second jobs. They were just taking us for a ride. They're all taking us for a ride. The foreign countries were really taking us for a ride, both on military and on trade. But we stopped it, and we're stopping it. I withdrew from the unfair and ridiculous Paris Climate Accord, where we were paying trillions of dollars. We would have spent numbers like you wouldn't believe, and China wouldn't have spent anything. Russia wouldn't have spent anything. India wouldn't have spent, but we would have spent over $1 trillion. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization, where we were paying $470 million, and China was paying, with a population quite a bit larger than ours, thank you. The problem with us, we have no idea what size our population. They allowed so many people on under Biden. But let's assume it's 325 million. China's 1.4 billion. We were paying $470 million, and China was paying $39 million. And China was running the whole show. So I said, no, thank you. I withdrew. They offered me to sign up at $39 million. I still said no because it was sort of scammy. I didn't like it. And Biden came back in, and he signed up. And they knew we could have signed up for $39 million or less. He came back in, and he signed up for the same as what they were paying before.
Uh-oh. What's going on here? Uh-oh.
He said, no, we're going right back in. Okay, I can understand that. But you go in for $39 million. They could make a deal for $39 million. They signed up for $472 million. And I withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council, which is totally disgusting. In 3 months, my administration has brought home 46 American hostages and citizens detained abroad. We paid nothing. We don't pay. We don't pay. You know, if you pay, those kidnappings go way up. We don't pay. Every time Biden brought people back, he'd pay $6 billion. $6 billion. $6 billion. 3 times they brought back 3 hostages. Oh, how is it? Well, I think it's a fair deal. What do we pay? $6 billion. Wait a minute. For 3 people, $6 billion. $6 billion. It's not right. I mean, it's just not right. They have no idea. Honestly, grossly incompetent, stupid people. More than Biden brought home in 4 years. We brought more back in just a matter of weeks than Biden brought home in years. And he paid a fortune, and we paid nothing. We got Mexico to turn over 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. And we're charging Mexico and Canada and China big tariffs because of the fact that they've allowed fentanyl to come in and poison our country. They're paying a lot of money for that. And because of that, you'll watch, it's going to stop. It's already slowing down. Within 6 weeks, we also apprehended the terrorists responsible for the attack that killed 13 American service members, known as Abbygate. I got to know them. I got to know those families very well. They're devastated. During the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan and brought him home. I mean, we brought this guy home to America. We got the guy that did it. We got him. They were looking for years, but we got him. It took us to get him. We got him in the first month. Brought him home to face justice. And it was that gross incompetence that probably led Putin to go in and attack Ukraine, because they were never going to. That was never going to happen. If I were president, the Ukraine-Russia war would have never, ever happened, not even a little chance. We have ended the weaponization of law enforcement and fired Joe Biden's handpicked. These are pro-crime U.S. attorneys, except if it's a political person like me. You know, I was under investigation more than the late, great Alphonse Capone. Al Capone was the greatest gangster of them all. If he had dinner with you, and if he didn't like you, you were dead. You were a dead person. You'd be under a foundation somewhere in a nice big building or sports center going up. And I spent far more time under investigation than Alphonse Capone. How about that? You like that? I didn't like that. I didn't like it. We removed senior FBI officials who were corrupt and misdirected the resources they sent to SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6 hostages, what they did to those J6 hostages. And they did nothing to the people that took over Portland and took over Seattle. They literally took over a big portion of Seattle, or in Minnesota, Minneapolis. You remember that disaster where they said, no, this is a peaceful rally. The CNN lunatic anchor, the guy has about the personality of an ant. This is not a man meant for television. He said, no, the rally is quite peaceful. Then he got hit with a brick or something. And over his shoulder, the entire skyline of Minneapolis was burning. You remember that one? The entire skyline was burning. And I have to be careful, because that gentleman right there, one of the greatest purchasers of advertising in the history of the world, Mike Lindell, there has never been a better purchaser. He comes from Minnesota. No, congratulations. He's the greatest purchaser of ads in history. If he would have bought my ads, I could have had 10 times more ads on. There's never been. Is there any station that doesn't have a pillow ad in? But he's great, and he's doing great, and he's got a beautiful new wife and all that stuff, and I'm proud of him. Look at him holding hands. They're still holding hands. I'm very proud of him. That's nice. Usually by this time, and a lot of people I know, Mike, by this time it's over. It's over. Look at you holding hands. I love that. I saw that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We created a brand new DOJ task force on anti-Christian bias. It's a big problem. I stripped the security clearances of the disgraced intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. Remember the laptop from hell? Remember the laptop from hell? When you had the 51 agents, they said, oh, Russia did it. Russia did it. Russia did everything. Russia did it. And it was all like horrible, disgusting stuff. You hadn't seen the worst of it, but it truly is the laptop. By the way, a very brilliant reporter for the New York Post wrote a book called The Laptop from Hell. You ought to read that book. It is really, it tells you the facts, okay? It tells you the facts. Miss Devine, the great Miss Devine, she wrote an amazing book, actually, The Laptop from Hell. We also terminated the clearances of the Biden crime family and Joe Biden himself because he's corrupt. And I banned all government censorship and restored free speech in America. We have free speech. We didn't have free speech. I ended all of the lawless so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion bullshit all across the entire federal government and the private sector. And I made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. And a really easy one, this was the easiest one I had. I banned men from competing in women's sports. You know, they always say that's an 80-20 issue. No, that's about a 97-3 issue. I also proudly banned the use of puberty blockers and other chemical and surgical, right? All these mutilations of our minor youth, I banned it all. I signed executive orders to abolish critical race theory and transgender insanity from our schools and from our military. We fired the woke boards of visitors at our military academies. We have great people running our military academies now. And I've directed the reinstatement of patriots expelled from our military by the Biden vaccine mandate with full back pay. After years of missed targets, our military suddenly has the best recruiting numbers in 30 years. Every branch is setting records. Don't think of that. 6 months ago, you and I were reading that nobody wanted to join the military, right? Now, we've just set a record of recruitment that's stuck. We have a waiting list of people that want to go into our military, and we have a waiting list including for police and firefighters, because our country has spirit again. We have spirit. Our country has great spirit again. Last month, I signed a historic executive order to begin the process of eliminating the Federal Department of Education and send education back to Michigan. We're going to send it back to our states, right? We're going to send it back to our states to run. I mean, how the hell bad can we do? We're like in last place. If they do badly, you're going to do better. They're going to do great, though. I think they're going to do great. I'm very proud of it. Linda McMahon, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job. And I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I ordered the release of all remaining files related to the assassinations of Presidents John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr., and they're all out there. And I made myself very unpopular in Mexico by renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And we are restoring the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley in Alaska. He's a very good president. And you Italians are going to love me, because just yesterday I brought back Columbus Day in America, especially for Italian Americans who were so badly treated by its removal. I also signed an order to require proof of citizenship to vote in American elections. That was easy. And the Democrats fought me in that. Think of it. Why would they want no voter ID? Because they want to cheat. Why would they want to have no proof of citizenship? We don't want it. We trust everybody. No, they want to cheat. That's all they want to do. Think of that. No voter ID. In Michigan, you must never allow ranked choice voting to be here. Never. We've done this all in 14 weeks. That's one. Remember that. 100 days. We've done all of the things that I named and a lot more, and we're counting, and it's going to be better. Wait till you see the results of some of the things that we're doing. In the coming weeks and months, we will pass the largest tax cuts in American history, and that will include no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's called the One Big Beautiful Bill, and it will be the biggest bill ever passed in our country's history. It will include the biggest tax cuts, regulation cuts, military supremacy, and just about everything else. We will cut more than $1 trillion in wasteful and unnecessary spending. And in the next fiscal year, it'll all be done. We're going to have something that you won't even believe. We will end inflation, slash prices. We've already ended inflation, raise wages, and give you the greatest economy in the history of the world. That's already happening. With our tax bill, the average family's take-home pay will be at least $5,000 more than it was just a couple of months ago. We will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors with no cuts, and we will defend Medicaid for those great people that are in need. House Republicans are working to invest more money in Medicaid than we spend today. The only thing we're going to cut is the corruption and the crooks that take advantage of some of the illegal schemes. So we want to preserve Medicaid for the most vulnerable, for our kids, pregnant women, the poor, and disabled Americans. We will fully and permanently secure our border. We will make the largest ever investment in U.S. military and build the Golden Dome missile defense shield. That's going to all protect us so we live a long and beautiful life. It's going to be made in Michigan, and it's going to be made right here in the USA. And 1 hour ago, I just made a speech at Selfridge Air Force Air National Guard Base, announcing that we are saving it, keeping it open, including thousands of jobs with a brand new state-of-the-art F-15s, which are coming to Selfridge. And we will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect they so dearly deserve. I will defend religious liberty, and I will defend the right to keep and bear arms. We will celebrate the 250th anniversary of America's founding in 2026, and we will teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. And one day soon, American astronauts will plant the flag on the planet Mars. That's going to happen very soon. Every single day of my administration will continue to live by the motto, promises made, and you've seen it before, promises kept. From Marquette to Midland, from Mackinac to Saginaw, and from Lansing to right here in Macomb County, we stand on the shoulders of red-blooded Michigan patriots. What great people. I love you, Michigan. Who laid the railroads, worked the factories, tilled the field, forged the steel, fought the battles, and won the victories that built the Motor City and made this state into the pride of the America Midwest. And you know what? We're going to make it better than it ever was. It's already happening. You see what's happening. Michigan is the state that gave us the assembly line, Motown, Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, and put the world behind the wheel of an automobile. And under our leadership, we are making it greater every single day. And the automobile business in Michigan will soon, and it's going to happen really soon. It's already happening. They're signing left and right because of my taxation and tariff policies, which are policies of common sense and genius, be bigger and stronger and better than ever before. It's going to get better than ever before. And it won't even be close. Companies will be pouring back into Michigan. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country. And on November 5th, 2024, it was hardworking patriots like you who saved our country. So thanks to your help, your love, and your support, after 100 days back in the White House, America is a free, proud, and sovereign nation once more. And our magnificent destiny is closer than ever before. It's closer than ever before. You have no idea how close it is. Our golden age has only just begun. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down. We will never, ever surrender. We will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win. Together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. I love you, Michigan. I love you. Have a good time. Thank you. God bless.
That was a long one, about 1 hour, 27 minutes. Of course, a typical Trump rally where he makes you smile, makes you laugh. The humor is just off the chain. And he tells you what he's working on. He tells you exactly how he's going to do it. Sometimes it leaves out informations that are not the voters' concerns, but for sure, he loves these rallies. And definitely, We enjoy these rallies. Anyway, CNN says Trump is deporting students. Here we go.
Designating thousands of international students in the United States of America as criminals and making this designation without checking for evidence or putting out actual charges. Now, this is according to an extensive CNN analysis of court records. Now, the students designated as criminals were then instructed by their schools not to show up to campus anymore or to work. Some of the students have now even left the country. And a judge tonight is calling out the Trump administration for what they say is a blatant violation of due process. Shimon Prokupez broke this story, did all of this analysis, is out front. I mean, Shimon, this is incredible. So what more are you learning from going through all this? We hear a story about someone here or someone here, but you have gone through and put it all together.
Yeah, so through all the court documents, and I've looked through now dozens and dozens court documents. I've spoken to probably about a dozen attorneys now that are representing many of these students, but it's hard to explain just how horrific and terrible this has been for foreign students. 1.3 million foreign students became the target of this administration. They took all of their names, put them through a criminal database.
There we go.
And if they got hits for them, they basically then did, without really any kind of investigation, without any kind of work, they essentially sent notices to them saying that they would basically were losing their status as students in the CVIS records.
And this could be, first of all, they didn't have to prove anything, but I mean, it could be like a speeding ticket.
In many cases, it was speeding tickets. In some cases, it were people who were actually arrested for shoplifting, DUI, things that, college-age kids may do. But what happens is, almost all of these cases, there were no formal charges, or in some instances, they were even dismissed. But they're not removed from the NCIC, which is the National Criminal Information Center, where all this data is scooped up. DHS has access to this. And so they ran their names. They did not a whole lot of investigative. In some cases, it was just within minutes where they send information back and forth and then we're told, okay, terminate these students.
And now these students are gone or terminated or...
What is so horrible is for the students who left, students who were so scared, because as this was going on, remember, it was during the time when Homeland Security and ICE officers were out making arrests, out searching for students on college campuses. All of this is happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And so the foreign students who got these notices freaked out and they left because they were afraid they were going to be detained. And now what happens? They have no recourse. Since they left the country, they can't get back in, they can't fight. And many of them spent years paying into this education system, years learning in this education system, hoping to pay back. They can't.
And is the Trump administration backtracking on any of this?
Yeah,
I mean,
they
you're
are.
saying some of this can't be undone.
Well, they realized, and they were getting really hit hard in the court system, and judges were demanding to know what was going on here. And today they released a new policy. It all started last week on Friday. They said they were reversing some of this. Today in court, they released more information. But really, for the first time, we got to see exactly how this worked and how it unfolded. And it's just horrific for these students.
It's such important reporting because, again, we hear about a name here from Tufts or something at USC and now to put it together. Shimon, thank you very much. Actually going through all of those court documents to bring that important reporting to light. I want to go now to the Democratic governor of Massachusetts, Maura Healey. And Governor, your state is really on the front lines of this. You have 80,000 international students, the fourth most in the country, Harvard, MIT, Boston University, Tufts, among many others. So when you hear this reporting, what do you make of it? What are you going to do about an administration designating, so many of these students as criminals? Some have left the country now, have no recourse to come back. What happens now?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we've seen over the last 100 days. We could talk about the economy and the terrible job that President Trump is doing. We can also talk about how many wrong-headed, misguided, illegal, unconstitutional actions that he's taken that have hurt our residents, have hurt our states, have hurt our economies. This is an example of this, Aaron. And I am a governor today, but for 8 years, I was the Attorney General of Massachusetts. I'm a prosecutor, and I know something about the law. And the judge was correct in the order. It's outrageous. We've had students who have been scared away from campuses in Massachusetts who've gone back to other countries. And those 80,000, it's about 80,000 up to 100,000 students who come here every year, Aaron. They study, they do research, they pioneer new treatments, they start companies, there are entrepreneurs. Some win Nobel Prizes right here out of Massachusetts. And so the idea that Donald Trump has done things to scare away that talent, for a person who talks about onshoring or reshoring talent, I'll tell you the effect that he has had by doing this. He's scaring away valuable talent from our states, from our country. China and other countries are looking to scoop up and recruit those folks. And he's making us less competitive, and he's making us less safe. See, what today's ruling reveals in reporting is that this was never about public safety to begin with. And this is, again, an instance where he's violating fundamental due process of law.
So, Governor, I'm curious, Trump just wrapped up his rally in Michigan, and as you know, that's where he was for his 100-day celebration. He spoke for well over an hour, but when he got there, he was welcomed by the Democratic governor there, Gretchen Whitman, a real star in the Democratic Party. She was waiting for him at the bottom of the stairs. And, she got into the car with the president, and she defended her appearance with Trump. And she wrote, and let me just quote from Governor Whitmer, she said, "I'll work with anyone who's serious about getting things done, but I'll never compromise on what I believe." And I've spent time with her over the years. She's very thoughtful and very pragmatic, Governor. What do you think of her decision to make her point of view clear, but to meet him, to stand at the bottom of those steps, to get into the beast with him as he's celebrating with his past, what he's done over the past 100 days? Do you think it was the right thing to do?
Aaron, all of us have a job to do in our states. We represent our states. We need to be advocates for our state. I certainly am for the state of Massachusetts. I also have been clear, and I think governors have been clear, that when Donald Trump does things that hurt our state, that hurt our economy, that hurt our businesses, that hurt our residents, we need to speak up about that. I'm cutting taxes. He's continuing to do things to raise costs, including by imposing these crazy tariffs on everyone. I'm building more housing. He's making that more difficult by taxing the lumber from Canada and the gypsum from Mexico. I'm investing in kids and schools and healthcare and veterans. At the same time, he's taking away funding for all of those folks. And so, as governor, I have the opportunity to talk about what's happening in my state in real time, and that's what Americans need to understand. And that's why you see more and more people speaking up.
So I just ask you one more thing, as I know you are a graduate of Harvard yourself. In terms of what has been happening at Harvard, they've been criticized because of renaming the DEI office there. And obviously, many had applauded Harvard for standing up to Trump on some of the things he had demanded. Obviously, the deal he did with Columbia as an example. They stood up on that, but they are now announcing that they're renaming the DEI office, the Community and Campus Life Office. So as somebody who not only is the governor of the state, but also a graduate of Harvard, how do you see this? Are you comfortable with it? Or do you think that it is a cave on a slippery slope?
No, I think that what Harvard is doing by standing up to the Trump administration is so important. And I know that Harvard is going to continue to make sure that it values diversity. I know that all of our colleges and universities will. Because at the end of the day, Aaron, whether it's in the classroom, in a boardroom, C-suite, or in the military, diversity is a strength. It's not a flaw. And excluding women and people of color from the table, that doesn't help anyone. It hasn't made us stronger as a country to do that. So, I'll tell you what is important about Harvard, and it's not limited to Harvard, okay? I was on the campus of the University of Massachusetts last week, also subject to the same cuts. They've had to furlough faculty, rescind offers. And again, these are people who are researching cures to cancer and Alzheimer's and all of that. So Harvard, standing up for academic freedom, standing up against the weaponization by the Trump administration, and frankly, further attempts by Trump to silence is absolutely the right thing.
Governor Healy, I appreciate your time and thank you.
Good to be with you.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Genesis. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. Join the memberships. You guys are the best. Thank you for tuning in. With that being said, instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. And believe in Almighty God. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back for sure. Shout out to the moderators, C. Shelley, Mr. Booski, Ellie, and thank you to the members of the channel. I see Dana too. Thank you to Dana as one of the moderators. And I see you, Ellie. I see you, Luke. Those are some of our members. God bless you. You guys are the best. And also, thank you to the veterans. If you are in the military, God bless you. You protect the homeland. God bless you. Good night, you guys. No matter how hard life is, no matter how, crazy things can get, just know God is in control and you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. Even if you don't, hey, just have fun, okay? Have fun because you only have one life, all right? I love you guys. God is the greatest. Thank you for being here. We will be back. See you soon.